We were having hot pot at home when I noticed an electrical fault. I quickly turned off the induction cooker, saving the whole family from disaster, but with just one sentence, my sister managed to destroy me. Sis, are you jealous that I got a coming-of-age gift? Mom slapped me in a rage, demanding to know what gave me the right to covet my sister's present. My father shoved me into the pot, saying he was going to get justice for my sister. The scalding broth poured over me, leaving me with severe burns all over my body. I clung to life in the hospital for a month. In the end, my parents refused to pay the bills, so I was kicked out. Under a bridge, I was torn apart and devoured by stray dogs. Given another chance, my father's question echoed in my ears. Why does the bottom of this pot feel so tingly? I added the Sichuan peppercorns. I added the Sichuan peppercorns. My expression at the table was calm, but my hands underneath it trembled uncontrollably, even after more than a month. The scene of my death from my past life still haunts my mind. On this very day in my past life, it was at this table, while my parents were celebrating my sister's birthday, I was the first to notice something was off about the hot pot, a numbing sensation. I'm the one who handles all the cooking at home, and I certainly don't remember adding anything that would make your tongue tingle. I realized instantly. It was a sign the induction cooktop was leaking electricity. I immediately cut the power and completely unplugged the cord connected to the cooktop. When I spotted the exposed inner wire, I felt a wave of relief for having found the cause of the leak and narrowly avoiding disaster. Little did I know, an even greater ordeal was yet to come for me. My sister lowered the glass she had raised in the air, her eyes instantly welling up with tears. Sis, are you jealous that I got a coming-of-age gift for your birthday yesterday? Mom didn't forget your gift on purpose, she just had too much going on. If you like it, I'll give it to you. That should make you feel better, right? She clutched the teddy bear tightly, sobbing, with no intention of handing it over to me, but our parents couldn't stand to see her upset or sad, especially now that she was crying because of me. A sudden, sharp slap sent me sprawling to the floor. My forehead cracked against the corner of the table, and stars exploded before my eyes. So this is why you've been acting out, Mom shouted furiously. Who do you think you are? How dare you try to take your sister's things? I didn't. I opened my mouth to tell the truth, but my sister was faster. Clutching her chest, she hurled the teddy bear into my face, smothering my words. Mom, if my sister likes it, let her have it. She clutched the front of her shirt. I'm just feeling a little unwell. It's fine. As soon as she said that, Dad, his face flushed red from drinking, stood up, too. He staggered toward me and grabbed me by the collar. Don't be angry, sweetheart, I'll get justice for you and teach that delusional bitch a lesson. I was forced face down into the still boiling pot. Scalding hot oil seared my entire face, then rushed into my body through my mouth and nose. My lungs and esophagus violently contracted. The intense suffocation and pain nearly made me black out. In my struggle, I finally broke free, but the pot tipped over with my movement, dousing me in oil. The scalding was so severe I went numb to the pain. When I finally came to, I was in a hospital bed, my body completely swathed in bandages. My vocal cords were permanently damaged from the extreme heat. Only my eyes could barely manage to open. The nurse by the bedside looked at me with pity. What are we going to do with this child? She's been in a coma for almost a month. Her parents only paid once when they brought her in, and since then they've refused to pay or consent to any treatment. We can't keep her here like this. The final payment deadline passed, and her parents' phone was still unreachable. That night, a masked person took me away under cover of darkness, but just as we were nearing home, they turned the car around and dumped me under a bridge not far from my house. Now, there's no one left to compete with me. The veil was lifted by the wind, and I saw my sister's face. The stray dogs roaming nearby, overjoyed at the sudden feast of human flesh, began tearing into it with ravenous bites. Devoid of pain, I watched with my own eyes as my body was mangled and scattered, my unwilling eyes refusing to close even in death. Back at the table, I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and buried the resentment from my past life to this one. I've waited so long for this day. This time, I will break free from this fate of death and escape this hell. 3. Hearing there was Sichuan pepper, my sister skeptically fished around in the dish and indeed found clusters of fresh peppercorns. I gave an ingratiating smile and said, my sister loves spicy and numbing flavors. Even though Mom and Dad usually don't let her have it, I took the liberty of adding a little for her birthday today. My sister's taste is quite different from our family's preference for mild flavors. She prefers intensely numbing and spicy food. However, our parents don't let her eat much of it, and that goes for greasy fried snacks too. Dad looked at me with a somewhat reproachful expression, but seeing how happy my little sister looked, Mom let me off the hook, just this once, and look how thrilled she is. Haven't you heard that a cheerful heart is the best medicine? Dad's expression finally softened a bit. He personally served her food, even feeding her bite by bite as if she were a toddler. Not to be outdone, Mom turned around and presented the birthday gift she had prepared. Sweetheart, you're 18 today. Happy coming of age. This same scene plays out every single birthday. The three of them, so warm and close, are all smiles and laughter at my sister's birthday dinner. My sister sits in the place of honor, basking in all the affection. Even though my birthday is just one day before hers, it's as if everyone has collectively forgotten. In recent years, it's gotten even worse. My parents doting on my sister leaves no detail overlooked. Even though our family is poor, my sister's room is still crammed with stuffed animals, her closet is packed with expensive clothes, and the only air conditioner in the house is installed in her room. Meanwhile, I lay in the storage room just a wall away, battling cockroaches and centipedes in my sleep. Wow, it's a cute teddy bear. Thanks, Mom. My little sister leaned over to kiss Mom's cheek, then happily spun around hugging the bear. But when she saw me sitting quietly at the table eating, she suddenly asked, Sister didn't get a present for her birthday yesterday. Do you think she'll be upset when she sees my bear? For they say my sister and I were supposed to be twins, but Mom had a difficult labor. I was born the night before, while my sister held on until dawn the next morning. Whenever my sister gets the slightest bit upset, she clutches her chest and complains of feeling unwell, but I know there's nothing wrong with her, yet my parents always choose to believe her, scolding me for upsetting her when I know perfectly well how fragile her health is. The moment that question was asked, all eyes in the room turned to me. If I said the wrong thing now, I feared I'd meet the same fate as in my past life. I kept my eyes downcast and said meekly, my sister's birth was a blessing, and her birthday is especially precious. As the apple of the family's eye, she deserves a wonderful celebration. There's no need to waste money on me. Having swiftly dodged the accusation of being covetous, I saw my parents' faces light up with satisfied smiles at my earnest words. As the older sister, you should have that kind of awareness. You must carry that same determination with you to university and take good care of your younger sister. Understand? I'll transfer your university living expenses to your sister, so she can manage the money for you and keep you from spending it recklessly. If it were possible to swap Gaokao scores, our parents would have undoubtedly given mine to my sister so she could attend a top-tier 985 university in Beijing. Unfortunately, my sister's score was only good enough for a local first-tier university. When filling out the applications, our parents had already listed me for the same school as her, under the guise of saying an older sister should look after her younger sister. However, I had already secretly contacted the homeroom teacher to change my school back. In half a month, I will head to the capital to start my new life, but the matter of changing schools will be discovered as soon as the term starts. When that happens, I'll be met with endless scolding and beatings. I have already endured 2 lifetimes of this. A life of reading every slight and suffering every humiliation. I won't make the same mistake twice. No matter what, I have to get out of here for good before the semester starts. I've made thorough preparations for today's escape. 5. I got up and brought the rest of the dishes from the kitchen, placing the handmade meatballs in front of my younger sister. My sister has always loved the meatballs I make, so I prepared some for her birthday this year too. Dad nodded and started eating heartily, washing it down with his drink. Mom gave a sarcastic smile. Oh, so now that you've heard about the living allowance going to your sister, you're rushing to butter her up. You're still so young, yet you're already full of schemes. That being said, my cooking really is good, and she ate quite a bit of it. Eat up, get a good rest after you're done. I watched everyone dig in, feeling a mix of nerves and excitement, but after picking at her food for a few bites, my sister slammed her chopsticks on the table in a fit of anger. No, this doesn't taste good. I didn't watch you make the meatballs today. For all I know, you could have slipped something else in there. My heart skipped a beat. Could she have found something out? No, that's not it. She's just disappointed she didn't get to witness my suffering. These fish balls were her special request. Every harsh winter, she'd specifically asked me to make this dish. Had to use the backs of the smallest crucian carp, the ones with the most bones, picking out every single one. Then, with my hands already chapped and cracked from the cold, I'd plunge them into ice water. She'd gleefully squeeze in lemon juice, watching me wince in pain as I obediently made the fish paste. My hands would stay red and itchy for days afterward, because if I showed the slightest reluctance, she'd burst into loud sobs, which would immediately bring down my parents' curses and beatings upon me. It's the peak of summer, and these meatballs are a bit too simple to make. Naturally, she's not pleased. This was just the excuse she needed to punish me. I had no choice but to lie. I didn't add any ice. That's probably why the meatballs aren't very refreshing. Mom slammed the table and demanded, "Why not? Look, you've upset your sister. What if she gets sick because of you?" I hugged my head, trembling all over as I tried to explain, "The fridge isn't cooling properly, so I had to put the ice in the juice." I was terrified a slap was coming any second. My little sister was amused by my cowardice. She let out a derisive snort, finally dropping the matter. Putting down the meatball, she picked up the chilled juice and took a long, refreshing drink. But little sister, the rich, fragrant taste of the juice is the perfect cover for the scent of the sedative. Halfway through dinner, Dad started feeling a bit lightheaded, but seeing the nearly empty bottle of ergoto by his hand, he didn't think much of it. Muttering, 18, he turned and gave his younger sister a happy smile. "My little girl is finally 18. I've been waiting for this day for so long. I raised you from a little thing who barely came up to my knee, and now you're almost as tall as your old man." His sister smiled sweetly. The alcohol loosened Dad's tongue, and he began to ramble on about how difficult it had been to raise my younger sister. He let out a long sigh, yet his expression was one of pure joy. 18 years old. My Jihao has finally. Before he could finish, Mom quickly fed him a bite of food, cutting him off. "Who is Jihao?" I was utterly bewildered, but my sister seemed not to hear, happily enjoying the attentive feeding from our mother. Sensing my gaze, my mother averted her eyes slightly and called for everyone to raise their glasses for a toast. Of course, it was just the three of them clinking glasses. I raised my glass alone, clinking it against the air. My sister looked at me with an undisguised, taunting glare, mocking me for being ostracized by the family and unwanted by everyone. But the cup in my hand is raised only to heaven and earth, and to the self that is about to escape this hell. I noticed a faint crackle of electricity, but right then, the sound of fireworks and firecrackers outside the window drowned out that small warning. Mom laughed with a sigh. "Sweetheart, someone setting off fireworks for your birthday. How lovely." "Yes, it really is wonderful." 7. Suddenly, a louder buzzing sound came from the stove, and my little sister looked at it with confusion. Dad waved his hand dismissively. "That's definitely from outside. Our stove is brand new, perfectly safe." My sister set aside her doubts for the moment, but then, even Mom started to sense that something was wrong. "Wait, Jiang, do you smell something? It smells like something's burning." "The pot's probably scorched at the bottom." Dad stirred the spicy hot pot with a slotted spoon, and the aroma of the food wafted through the air, reclaiming everyone's sense of smell. "See, the smell's gone now." My sister still thought something smelled off, but there was a loud crack, the sound of shattering glass. I had accidentally knocked over the bottle of ergoto on the table. It now lay in pieces on the floor, the pungent aroma of liquor filling the room. "You're so clumsy. How can you break something just sitting down for a meal?" My father was in a rage, about to slap me. I shrieked and dodged frantically, my foot kicking over a bottle of baijiu in the process. The liquor gushed out onto the floor, and the pungent smell of alcohol was all anyone could breathe in. "I'm sorry, Dad, it was an accident. I'll go get you another bottle right now." I scrambled into the kitchen, but instead of heading for the cabinets, I opened a small side door and pulled out my hidden luggage. The strange smell of burning already signaled an electrical overload. The induction cooktop, which had been leaking current and running for too long, was about to explode right in front of them as they sat at the dining table. The spilled liquor on the floor will fuel the flames. In the ensuing chaos of fighting the fire, no one will notice a girl's disappearance. That will be enough to create an opportunity for me to escape this hell forever. With a sudden whoosh, the entire room was plunged into darkness. 8. The whole street went dark. It seems the summer electricity peak caused an overload, tripping the circuit breakers and cutting power to the whole area. "Ah, it's so dark, Mom, I'm really scared." My little sister shrieked and hid in our mother's arms. Mom kept comforting her, fanning her and getting her water, which finally calmed her down a little. The induction cooker had already shut down due to the power outage, and the smell of something burning gradually faded away. I couldn't help but feel a bit disappointed, but I wasn't about to put all my eggs in one basket. Just as I was about to get started, a frantic knocking came from the front door. The moment the door opened, my mother was met with a barrage of accusations. "What is wrong with your family? You've gone and caused a blackout for the whole street. If it weren't for that little troublemaker, who on earth would put up with this misery in the middle of summer?" Several aunties stood at the doorway, with Auntie Lee at the front fanning herself with a palm leaf fan, immediately pointing the finger at my little sister for causing everyone trouble. My little sister quickly ducked behind our mother. Mom couldn't stand to see her upset and immediately jumped to her defense. "How dare you just throw out accusations like that? What makes you think our Xiaofu is to blame? Are your eyes just for decoration? Can't you see our power's out too? If you ask me, it's definitely your shady business that's got the whole street suffering along with you," retorted Mrs. Lee indignantly. "It's your fault for running the AC with the windows wide open." Mom was taken aback. "The wiring here is lousy," Mrs. Lee said dramatically. "That ancient clunker of yours already groans and creaks loud enough to hear through the walls. Now you're running it non-stop with the windows open, roaring away 24/7. No wonder the system overloaded and blew." Mom and Dad were wondering for days why the electricity bill this month was shockingly high. "So this is why?" "I don't know, Mom, I really don't." As she spoke, my sister got defensive, her eyes welling up with tears. "I thought it was too hot, but if I don't get fresh air, my lungs feel awful." Sister-in-law Lee scoffed. "Oh, give it a rest with the act. First you wreck your own home, now you're dragging everyone else down. You're something else." I usually let it slide, but if we're being honest, you're the lowest person on this whole damn street. 9. A chorus of voices rose from the crowd. "You're the one who stirred up trouble between Zhao Er and Wang Wu, turning good friends into bitter enemies. Mrs. Zhang's daughter-in-law saw you stomp on the clothes left by the tree and throw them away, all because she made one offhand comment. How can a young girl be so petty? Take old Wang's eldest daughter, for instance. She was well over 30 and finally found someone to marry. Then you went and gossiped, scaring the poor man off. If she hadn't found someone better later, she'd have made you pay for that. Mark my words." Cornered by the crowd, the younger sister panicked. "It wasn't me, I didn't do it. Let's not dredge up the past. Just look at the air conditioner today. If you hadn't messed with it, we wouldn't be suffering in this 40-degree heat." Sister-in-law Lee shook her head at the younger sister, then glanced at the mother who was still shielding her child behind her, and let out a long, heavy sigh. "With this kind of coddling, I think you've really lost your mind. You're just letting her do stupid things that cause trouble for everyone." "What are you talking about? What do you know? This is our family's business. Who do you think you are to interfere?" The mother thought they were the ones who understood nothing. Yet here they were, pointing fingers and giving their 2 cents. If Xiaofu wants to turn it on, she'll turn it on. She'll run the AC with the windows wide open and blow the circuit if she pleases. What's it to you? Sister-in-law Lee simply found her utterly unreasonable. It was far more agreeable to go back and wait for the repair crew, but her mother's hand clamped down on her like a vice. "If you want to say Xiaofu is in the wrong, then you're all accomplices. Now you come knocking on my door, causing trouble and saying all this nonsense that's upsetting our Xiaofu. Why didn't any of you have the sense to warn us about the air conditioner in the first place? Every single person who walked past my house enjoyed that cool breeze. Every last one of you who felt it is just as guilty for blowing the circuit." The crowd exchanged uneasy glances. Everyone knew how unreasonable that household could be. Who would have dared to offer a word of advice? If it weren't for this unbearable power outage today, no one would have even thought to come here demanding answers. Seeing the situation, they immediately tried to scatter, but Mom stood blocking the way. "You come to my house, 'cause a ruckus, and now you think you can just leave. You're all paying me for emotional distress." Strangely, no one left then, because they were all too amused and exasperated. "Fine, if you want it, come and get it yourself." Auntie Lee, flanked by her people, grabbed a bottle from the doorway and was about to swing it. I stood hidden in the shadows, silently watching the brawl unfold. My sister and mother were surrounded, being beaten by the crowd. Yet in the chaos and tussle, my mother still managed to shield my sister beneath her. "Hit harder, let it get even more chaotic. Don't mind me, and don't watch me walk away." 10. It's a shame things didn't go my way. Why aren't you helping? Are you just going to stand there and watch your sister get hit? What kind of an older sister are you? A furious shout cut through the din. I turned and found my father's gaze fixed squarely on me. In his hands, he held two kitchen cleavers. If anyone throws another punch, I'll take a swing at them. At those words, everyone froze. Dad immediately pulled my sister out from under him, and only breathed a sigh of relief after confirming she wasn't hurt. With a drunken belch, he swung his knife through the air. Everyone scattered in a panic, vanishing without a trace. I let out a regretful sigh and walked home under my father's watchful eye. Can't even handle a fight. You're useless. Lucky your sister isn't hurt, or you'd be in for it. At home, I'm the servant who works from dawn till dusk, the family's punching bag for everyone's frustrations, and my sister's personal caretaker. If she so much as got a scratch, my parents would take out on me all the anger they couldn't bear to direct at my sister. If my sister fell and scraped her knee, I'd be forced to injure myself in the exact same spot until she stopped crying. My sister's safety and well-being were my parents' absolute top priority. In other words, I'm under close watch too. Escaping really isn't that easy. After all, Dad returned to his seat, his face dark with anger, and slammed his hand heavily on the table. I knew there was something wrong with this month's bill. You really know how to spend money. Running the AC is one thing, but leaving the window open, what were you thinking? Dad's angry face was a common sight, but I can scarcely remember a time he ever got truly upset with my little sister. My sister pouted. I just wanted to get some fresh air. How was I supposed to know this would happen? Don't you talk back to me. Mom caught his descending hand mid-swing. Wait, Young, what on earth are you doing? She whispered a few words to her father, then went back to soothe her younger sister. It's okay, Xiaofu, Daddy didn't mean it. He just had a little too much to drink. You know he loves you very much. The younger sister, still a bit shaken, nestled close to her, tears streaming down her face. Mommy, does Daddy really love me? The mother quickly shot a meaningful glance at the father. The latter then took the initiative to make peace, personally feeding her the still chilled juice, which finally improved her sister's expression considerably. But I was really curious. Had she actually heard what Mom said? 11. I only have my sharp ears to blame. I heard every word of their hushed conversation just now. The child is having surgery in a few days. Can't you just hold it together a little longer? If you scare her now, what will we tell Jihao? Is someone having surgery? Are they sick? But just a couple of years ago, Mom and Dad took us all for the most comprehensive physical exams. They even drew several vials of blood, and no one was found to be sick. The name, Jihao, I just heard it mentioned. Who exactly is he? A host of doubts swirled in my mind. Now, as I looked at the cozy family of three, a chill ran down my spine. I didn't want to dwell on it, and if I could just leave this house today, there would be no need to dwell on it at all, so I quietly slipped back into the kitchen to begin the second phase of my plan. The loose gas cylinder valve is carrying out my mission. 12. Over the air conditioning issue, Mom got upset and shut all the windows and doors in the house. The relatively sealed environment made it easier for the gas to accumulate indoors. Dad poked at the cold food on the table and clicked his tongue in dissatisfaction. Hey, go fetch the diesel generator from the storage room. He was, of course, calling for me. He probably wasn't full yet and was planning to keep the hot pot going, but that generator hadn't been started in ages. On top of that, I'd used most of the diesel for other purposes, so the generator was too weak to start on its own and needed to be cranked manually, but he had it hooked up to that same faulty, leaking induction cooktop. If the power came on successfully, the person cranking the handle would be the closest to the stove. They'd also take the brunt of the explosion. But faced with my father, his eyes red from drinking, I didn't dare refuse him outright. I could only pretend the crank was stuck and let go. Useless, can't even handle a simple task. My father shoved me aside and took over the crank himself. With 2 beeps, the induction cooktop powered back on. He clapped his hands. There, all fixed. Dig in, everyone. 3 seconds later, the stove erupted from the heating panel. An assortment of parts flew into the crowd, inevitably causing burns and stings. I shook my head, clicking my tongue in disapproval. What a shame. This time, it was just a minor, sudden explosion caused by a power surge from the generator. Thankfully, it didn't escalate into a full-blown, panic-inducing fire, but it doesn't matter anymore. The gas canister, loose for years, had leaked until almost empty, but the remaining fumes were probably enough to knock out anyone inside, giving me a chance to escape. 13. That was so scary. Mommy, hold me. My little sister whined. It nearly scared me to death. Don't you dare say such things. In an instant, Mom realized her tone was too harsh and quickly softened it to her usual, soothing voice. Dad was so furious he smashed the liquor bottle. gave the generator a few hard kicks, and, reeking of alcohol, ordered me to put everything back. Now the stove is completely broken, so no one can cook anything. All we have to enjoy are those cooked meatballs. But seeing his sobbing younger sister and his mother, who kept trying to comfort her, their father, likely fueled by the alcohol, couldn't take it anymore. He actually shouted at them to stop. "What's all this crying for? All you do all day is waste money and cry." His sister was stunned into silence. Her mother, concerned for her feelings, said, "Why are you picking on the child? Little Fu is going to be upset again in a moment. So what? I've put up with this for years. Every day it's either asking for money, clothes, or just crying." I finally made it to 18. "Isn't that enough?" Dad's words carried the scent of baijiu. "Didn't we already agree to go over there this week? What's the difference if it's a few days early? Weren't you the one who said not a single thing could go wrong? Is she how your son or mine?" After she spoke, the room fell into a heavy silence. Mom instantly realized she had said the wrong thing, but the little sister didn't care what they were saying. She only cared that she wasn't getting any attention right now. Her brow was furrowed, her hands were clutching her chest tightly, and her face was covered in sweat. "Mom, Dad, I don't feel well. Now the child is sick. Are you happy?" Mom, furious, pushed Dad aside and quickly gathered around to pat her back. Hearing this, Dad sobered up considerably and, to make his little sister happy, even slapped his own face. "I was wrong, sweetie. I had a bit too much to drink and started talking nonsense, upsetting our little princess Xiaofu. It's all my fault. It's okay as long as Mom and Dad don't fight. Xiaofu will be good." My sister shook her head with difficulty, stirring up a wave of guilt in both of them. Had I not seen the triumphant glint in her eyes, I might have applauded her masterful performance, but I just leaned against the kitchen door and took a careful sniff. It smelled like freedom. 14. The flashlight on the table flickered and soon died completely. I had secretly thrown away all the spare batteries at home. With my little sister trembling in the dark, my parents had no choice but to send me on an errand. The little shop at the end of the village was a place even dogs wouldn't go near. It was practically lawless, and rumor had it the owner was a thug with a particularly vicious look about him, but my parents didn't care about any of that, nor did they worry about the risks a young girl like me might face walking through dark neighborhoods alone. All their energy and attention were focused on my younger sister. In the past, facing this kind of favoritism would have filled me with resentment and sadness, but today, I'm only grateful for the chance to escape that I created for myself. The smell of gas in the house seemed to be getting stronger and stronger. My parents sat on the floor, telling stories and singing to my little sister, completely oblivious to the change in the air. I took a fair amount from my father's wallet, closed the door softly, and could hardly contain my smile. "Xiaodi, what are you doing?" 15. The man who called out to me was my uncle, and my aunt was right behind him. They came up to the door and stared suspiciously at the money in my hand. "Stealing money at your age? Just wait until I tell your father. He'll beat you senseless." "No, please, uncle, auntie, I was just going to buy a flashlight. The power's out at home." That uncle and his wife were notorious tattletales. Anything that came out of his mouth would be blown way out of proportion. I quickly chimed in. "The wiring in our old neighborhood has always been unreliable. It's prone to blackouts during peak hours. It's really something else how well-planned Uncle's gated community is. I'm quite envious." A few years back, Uncle had a son and struck it rich, making him the undisputed star of the family. He used to look down on us poor relatives, but for the last couple of years, he's been visiting our house frequently. He treats my younger sister with particular favor, often bringing her food and clothes. And he's always calling her his little lucky star, Uncle says. The name, Nafu, which means to receive good fortune, is very fitting. That my sister has the destiny of bringing luck to others, but I get no special treatment. I'm still treated like a servant, and my uncle looks down on my parents too. He's only ever nice to my sister. My flattery really puffed him up, you bet. The property management fees for my 500 square meter villa this year alone could buy your little house outright. So, when can I come stay for a few days? My words, coupled with the look of longing in my eyes, spooked them. They quickly shooed me away, afraid I might try to take advantage. "Go on, get out of here, go buy your flashlight." I'm usually pretty obedient, so I turned to leave, but then, something suddenly occurred to me. Those three inside had been drugged. That's why their senses were dulled and they couldn't smell the gas. But my uncle and the others hadn't taken any drugs. What if they figure out what I'm up to? I rushed back, hoping to get inside first to hide the smell, but they were quicker and had already stepped through the door. I had no choice but to hide in a corner and watch. The moment my uncle and his wife entered, they covered their noses. What's that awful smell? 16. My cousin's wife flung the window open with a clatter, fanning the air with a look of disgust before giving a kick to the piles of cardboard boxes littering the room. Look, I don't mean to be rude, but just because you're in the recycling business doesn't mean you can let the place go like this. You've got to keep the house clean. The moment the door opened, a powerful stench of rotten eggs hit us, so strong it was dizzying. After airing the room out for a while, the smell vanished completely. However, the three people inside hadn't smelled a thing. Assuming the visitors had come to mock them, they simply rolled their eyes in response, unfazed. Uncle helped himself to some juice without ceremony and placed the various bags he was carrying in front of his younger cousin. My little lucky star, come see what your uncle brought for you. My little sister was surrounded by all the latest clothes and shoes, with a brand new set of the hottest electronics laid out before her. She was overjoyed, responding with a sweet smile, though a hint of greed flickered in her eyes. But our parents' expressions were far from pleased. They used to be the most eager to receive gifts, but now they regard these things with great wariness. A box was pushed toward Dad. Upon opening it, he found it was a thick stack of red banknotes. Cousin, I was thinking of having Xiao Fu come stay at my villa for a few days starting tomorrow. What do you think? My cousin's wife chimed in. Her room is all ready. Our whole family would love to have Xiao Fu over. Jia Jun keeps pestering us, asking when his big sister can come play. My sister was naturally overjoyed, her face unable to conceal her eager anticipation. When we visited our uncle's house before, even just sitting lightly on that leather sofa made me feel as if my soul was being tainted by money. She probably relished that life of being waited on hand and foot, living like a princess, but upon hearing the time, I felt we couldn't wait any longer. Tomorrow, I won't let tomorrow come. I took out the candle and matches I had ready in my pocket, planning to make a detour to my room, which is to say, the storage room. There are cardboard boxes soaked in diesel fuel. A single match is all it would take for a fierce blaze to quickly engulf them. The mannequin I've placed in the room as a decoy will serve as my stand-in, providing the excuse for my absence. By the time they put out the roaring fire and discover it's not me in the room, but just a dummy, I'll likely already be on a train bound for the capital, leaving this hellhole behind for good. Hey, where's Xiaodi? She was just going to buy a flashlight, wasn't she? 17. My uncle's voice called out from inside, and I couldn't help but curse under my breath. God damn it. He never thinks of me for anything good, but of course he remembers me now. I was just about to slip in through the side door, but Mom happened to catch sight of me. What are you doing, sneaking around like that? I was forced to stop, and reluctantly pulled out a candle and a box of matches, pretending to be scared. All the flashlights were sold out. This is all that's left. With my head bowed, Mom couldn't see my face. She simply took the item from my hand and lit it in the living room. Looking at such a primitive light source, my uncle made no effort to hide his contempt. Cousin, he said with a click of his tongue, look at these conditions. Stop putting on a brave face. Just take what I'm offering. It'll be better for everyone. In the flickering candlelight, I could almost see my father's resentment reflected. Meanwhile, my own resentment and anxiety remained hidden in the darkness. I went back to the storage room to think of a plan. While the discussion outside the house continued, Dad was silent for a moment. She can go, but let's make it during the winter break. Summer vacation is almost over. Once she's rested, we still need to take Xiaofu to university. Oh, come on, there's still almost a whole month left. Staying with us for a few days won't be a problem. I promise we'll take good care of her. She won't have a single ache or pain when she leaves. All right, Uncle patted my sister's head affectionately. Xiaofu, come stay at our house. Uncle will take you and Jejun to the amusement park, to fancy restaurants, and to parties. You'll be treated just like a princess. That really hit the nail on the head for my sister. Then, my uncle took a box of money out of his bag and handed it to my dad. Even the most precious daughter can't be clung to all day. Take this time to rest. Maybe go on a trip. There's no rush. My mind was racing, trying to process their vague and evasive information while urgently devising a safer escape plan. There was no better opportunity, but even if it means taking a risk, I have to do it. I'm leaving. 18. The matches were gone. but the old battery I'd salvaged from the flashlight was still in my hand. A short circuit in the battery could set the storage room ablaze in an instant, but I would also be caught in the blast and get hurt. I steeled myself, gritted my teeth, and was about to make my move. Then, a fierce argument suddenly erupted in the living room. "Why should we have to wait for you? And you're telling us not to worry," facing my father, whose face was flushed with anger. Uncle was equally blunt. "Because of all the benefits you've taken over the years, haven't I given your family enough money? If the match wasn't suitable, I wouldn't waste my effort on a pauper like you. My family should get the surgery first," Mother retorted indignantly. "Well, our family has taken such good care of Nafu all these years. We've never dared to upset or stress her out. And she hasn't had a single illness. By all rights, our family should be first in line." "So you love to argue, huh?" Uncle panted, out of breath. "Let me tell you, if you don't let my family go first, I can have someone flatten this shack of yours tomorrow. No one is going to stand in the way of Jejun's chance to live." Completely baffled by what I was hearing, I froze behind the door, the lighter in my hand going still. My sister, caught in the middle, was even more confused. She couldn't understand why a conversation about a villa had suddenly escalated to the brink of a physical fight, but she didn't forget to maintain her delicate image, weakly urging both sides to stop arguing, even resorting to her usual trick of clutching her chest, but everyone was too heated to pay her any mind. My father snapped, "Is your son's life the only one that matters? Is my Jihao's life worthless? Why do you get to take the kidney first, while we have to wait for Nafu to recover before we can take the liver?" 19. I stood behind the door, covering my mouth in shock. The younger sister, seated at the head of the table, was utterly unprepared. Her jaw dropped in shock, but no coherent words could escape her lips. Yet, in the heavy silence that filled the room, her reaction stood out starkly. All four of them turned to look at her, their eyes now devoid of any warmth or affection. They restrained the sister as she tried to flee, tying her to the chair and gagging her to stifle any sound, until the procedure was complete. She remained the most precious treasure to both families. Now they didn't have to hide anything anymore, and when they argued face to face, they laid all their cards on the table. "Didn't we agree during the compatibility tests, we get the liver first, and then we'll give your family a kidney later? Your condition isn't urgent, but my Jihao's situation is critical." Father slammed the table, deeply worried for Jihao. My cousin's wife didn't care about any of that. She was only frantic about securing a kidney for her son. Jejun is younger, wouldn't it be better for his recovery if he got it sooner? She didn't miss the chance to stir up trouble between my parents. "Sis, I have to say you're being far too generous. That Jihao is just an illegitimate child. How can you be so magnanimous as to let your own daughter undergo a liver transplant for him? If it were up to me, that bastard son shouldn't get a thing." Mom fell silent for a moment. "The Zhao family needs a son to carry on the line. Even if he was born outside the marriage, he still has our family's blood." In that instant, I understood the reason behind mine and my sister's names. I used to envy my younger sister's name. Everyone called her Little Lucky Star, while I was just Shouty. I thought she was different from me. I always thought it was just my sister and me at home. But now I realized there was always an invisible brother, a phantom presence, right there with us every time they called our names. It was just a prayer for a son to be born, and now, that prayer has been answered with a real brother. Despite being born out of wedlock, he was still the Zhao family's only remaining heir. Now, the meaning of my sister's blessing had taken on another layer, as her organs were a successful match. What my uncle meant by bringing fortune to others was, in reality, trading parts of one's own body for fleeting familial affection. 20. Only then did the younger sister truly grasp the grim reality. She wanted to run, to scream for help, but her body was frozen in place. Even their mother's usually gentle face had become terrifying. "Be good, little Fu. Even if we take your liver and kidneys, as long as the doctor is skilled, you can still live a good life. You're our little lucky star, after all." She gently stroked the younger sister's head. "As long as you can bring fortune to the Zhao family's son, little Fu, you'll be a truly blessed girl." All pretense was cast aside as they fought and scrambled. Their only concern was to ensure the organ donor remained seated in place, ignoring the sister's desperate cries and pleas. In the scuffle, the uncle's lighter clattered to the floor, and the bottle of liquor by father's feet shattered into pieces. A pungent odor hung in the air, yet no one seemed to notice. Perhaps the drug had dulled their senses. or perhaps their desperate hope for their son's new life left no room for such trivial details. A careless nudge of an elbow sent the candle on the table toppling over, the small flame, finding ample fuel, erupted into an instant blaze. The fire spread with terrifying speed, racing across the spilled liquor on the floor and leaping to the surrounding clutter in mere seconds. Searing tongues of fire, climbing up loose clothing, were licking at the people gathered there. Only then did they realize the danger. They began frantically batting at the flames and scrambling to escape. Bound to her chair, the younger sister could only watch the fire approach, whimpering helplessly for aid. Everyone was scrambling for their own survival. They searched for an exit, only to find every one blocked by piled-up junk. The doorknob was warped from the heat, impossible to turn no matter how hard they pulled. The room had become a living hell. Through the window, my sister caught sight of me fleeing. Her eyes widened, a torrent of words and bitter resentment on her face, but the gag in her mouth stifled any sound. Then came the explosions of the diesel engine and the old batteries. It drowned out all other sound. 21. The four who had been running frantically were reduced to charred remains, while the sister who had remained seated in her chair was the only one left alive. But I still didn't manage to escape. After the fire, the police came to the house to investigate. As the only one who came out unscathed, I was subjected to all manner of inquiries. I confessed to the idea of arson, hoping to use it as a way to flee my abusive home and board a train to the future. However, I also denied the arson allegation. I am profoundly grateful that a series of unforeseen events prevented my plan from succeeding, and in the end, they were destroyed by their own greed. Taking all factors into account, I was found not guilty and walked out of the police station. I went to the hospital to visit my sister, who survived. After hearing the doctor's critical condition notification, I thanked her for her comfort and pushed open the hospital room door. "It's you who killed them. It's you who made me like this." Looking at this charred flesh, wrapped entirely in bandages before me, I felt as if I were catching a glimpse of my past self. But in this life, my sister was still slightly better off. The cloth gagging her mouth had actually prevented her from inhaling more smoke, so her respiratory tract and vocal cords were in somewhat better condition. "At least they're still cursing me out for now. I'm warning you, one more insult and I'll cut off the payments immediately." She shut up right away, but still muttered under her breath that I was a jinx. "The Zhao family has a visitor." 22. Before I could even make out who it was, the person yanked the child down and dropped to their knees with a heavy thud. "Zhaodi, please save your brother. What will he do without a liver?" The woman sobbed, tears streaming down her face. "Hand over your father's insurance money. We must preserve the Zhao family line." So it was the two of them, looking for an insurance payout. More and more people were gathering to watch, and the woman began kowtowing with even greater fervor. I hurriedly helped her to her feet. "Auntie, my heart truly goes out to you. It's never easy when a child falls ill." Her eyes lit up. "The money, but we're complete strangers. Coming to me is pointless." The woman was bewildered. No, Zhihao is your brother. He's your father's flesh and blood." I declined politely. "Then you'll have to take that up with my father. I don't know either of you. Zhao Weiqiang is dust and ashes. How am I supposed to find him?" That's when it finally dawned on her. I would never acknowledge someone like Xiao Zhihao. "And another thing," I added, "my name is Xiao, as in, clear as the sun and stars, and Di, as in, without root or stem. Don't get it wrong, Auntie, I have no roots here." My father must have promised her the world. Now that he's gone, she never expected I'd refuse to honor those promises. All her dreams have vanished into thin air. She stood there, frozen in place, but Zhao Zhihao, standing behind her, wasn't having it. He clenched his little fist and swung at me. I dodged just in time. The blow landed squarely on my sister's chest. She coughed a few times and spat a mouthful of blood onto Zhao Zhihao's face. This terrified the latter, who let out a panicked shriek and fled the hospital room. The woman scrambled to her feet and hurried after the Zhao family's heir. But peace did not return to the room. My sister's coughing grew louder and more violent. Her voice was weak and trembling, on the verge of tears. "Sis, can you save me? I don't want to die. So many memories are coming back to me." 23. The flame of life flickered out, and in her final moments, a reel of memories transported my sister to our past life. In that previous life, I was forced to leave the hospital for lack of payment and died under a bridge. My sister thought that was the end of her suffering, but her true hardship was only just beginning. The treatment money saved by my death was, it turned out, used to fund my Sister's transplant surgery. These kinds of deals are only done in underground clinics. The sanitary conditions are terrible, and the working conditions are just as bad. My sister was happily knocked out, and when she woke up, she was missing a kidney and part of her liver. Her organs saved the lives of the Zhao family's two precious sons, Jiajun and Jihao, but she ended up in the same situation as me, after all. A servant of the Zhao family had died. Ao Jihao moved into the Zhao family home with his mother without a hitch. He spent his days beating and berating both his sister and his mother, yet somehow this was praised as a display of formidable spirit. Under the strain of constant labor, his sister's already frail body, weakened by a past surgery, grew even more feeble. Yet, the Zhao family had a knack for keeping her just barely alive, to avoid suspicion from having both daughters die. Their father taught Zhao Zhihao to control the force of his beatings. They removed every possible tool for suicide, making death an unattainable luxury for the sister. It wasn't until they accepted a hefty bride price that the sister finally got her chance to die. In her husband's household, "Sister, look how pitiful I am, please save me, let me live out this life." My sister's voice grew faint, tears of fear streaming from her eyes, but my face remained utterly expressionless. "If I pity her, then who will pity me?" She dabbed at her falling tears with a tissue, a final glimmer of hope shining in her eyes, pleading for my salvation. Yet, that was all I could do. I stood up. "In this life or any other, it was never my choice to let you die, nor is it within my power to simply will you to live. Perhaps the greatest mercy is to spare a dying person from clinging to futile hope." Hearing the doctor's conclusion, she closed her eyes in despair, a final tear escaping from the corner of her eye. "Go, and, I'm sorry." The last words drifted away on the wind. I turned and walked out the door, stepping into a brand new future. Story 2. My sister and I are twin beastkin. When forming pacts with humans, my sister claimed the jade-faced monastic prince, leaving me with the vicious young master. Little did we know the ascetic cared neither for power nor women, yet that ruthless young lord spent fortunes to make me a superstar, bathing me in glory. Consumed by hatred, my sister murdered me, only for us to return to the day we chose our masters. This time, she hastily picked the young master whose cruelty was written all over his face. Little did she know, the face mirrors the soul. How could a vicious, brutal master ever cherish or treat his beastfolk with kindness? 1. My younger sister has always been delicate. Staying with the monk for recuperation would suit her best. As for me, I'll naturally follow the young master. He's the only one who truly commands my devotion. Watching my sister blatantly flirt with Ryder, her cheeks flushed, without even a glance at Quinn, her former favorite, that's when I knew we'd both been reborn together. Nonsense. Our mother frowned disapprovingly, her gaze softened as she looked at my sister. "Child, I know you want to care for your younger sister, but choosing a life-bonded partner is a serious matter. How could you make such a decision on your own?" Then mother turned to me, her smile fading. "Since your sister shows you such kindness, you ought to be more sensible." I lowered my eyes. Had I not been given this second chance, would Juno ever have treated me with such care? Mother's reaction spoke volumes. Knowing Ryder's fearsome reputation, she couldn't bear to see my sister bound to him, so she expected me to be the sensible one. "But mother, if you couldn't sacrifice her, why was I expendable?" Recalling my blind obedience to mother, Juno dashed straight to Ryder and clung to his arm coquettishly. "Will you be my master? I fell for you at first sight. I want no one but you." Lifting my gaze without a flicker of emotion, Ryder's lips curled into an amused smirk. Neither agreeing nor refusing, but I knew that smile, the way he looked at prey, reveling and toying with people like puppets on strings. Juno caught my gaze and shot me a glare, inadvertently drawing Ryder's attention straight to me. I quickly feigned ignorance, staring down at my own feet. After a long pause, a lazy male voice finally drawled with amusement, "Call me master." With a sickly sweet, "Master," Ryder burst into laughter, pulling Juno in for a kiss without a care for the onlookers. Seeing my mother's awkward expression, I felt a slight relief. "It's done." Juno skipped over cheerfully and whispered in my ear, "Little sister, I'll gladly take your top celebrity and man for myself. No one would ever choose Ryder over Quinn, too, unless she's a complete fool." Quinn possessed an androgynous beauty, with flowing silver hair cascading over shoulders, a truly mesmerizing sight. His legendary good temper was well known. Rumor had it no one had ever seen him angry. After all, this was a lifetime contract. Compared to the brutal and tyrannical Ryder, Quinn was undoubtedly the superior choice for a bond master. The only pity is that Juno's impulsive nature, Her thirst for quick success and lust for power defined her character. Though utterly captivated by Quinn's breathtaking beauty, it could never satiate the greed in her heart. Quinn's brilliant mind only confirmed their fundamental incompatibility, sealing the fate of their relationship before it began. Thus Juno gained absolutely nothing from Quinn. Her relentless self-sabotage led to complete disgrace, making her the laughingstock of the orc community. Yet the younger sister she always looked down on, me, rose to become the entertainment industry's top star. Not only do I have luxury cars and jewels galore, but Ryder's also my devoted protector, spoiling me rotten, the envy of the entire internet. Now I'm the role model every orc aspires to emulate. With such a cruel contrast, how could Juno not hate? The mere thought that our fates diverged from the day we chose our masters, one ascending to heaven, the other condemned to hell, drove her to utter despair, bordering on madness. It wasn't until I returned home for my mother's birthday that she seized her chance to drug and murder me. If only she had understood. There's no such thing as a free lunch. Behind every glamorous facade lies untold hardship. A brutal contractor like Ryder, accustomed to reckless tyranny, would never spare a thought for an orc's well-being. His devoted husband act was pure theater. Exploitation and relentless torment revealed his true nature. With Ryder's erratic temper and utter incompetence, I became his most valuable pawn to sustain his crumbling empire. Name your price, and I'm all yours. The orc's loyalty pact became my inescapable lifelong curse. Utterly revolting, countless suicide attempts, each thwarted by Ryder, only brought more sadistic torment. So when Juno handed me that drugged water, I downed it without hesitation. Perhaps I should thank her for ending the nightmare I couldn't escape. I owe her my gratitude too. In this lifetime, she chose to take my fate upon herself. Quinn and I returned to Ryder's family. 3. His courtyard was elegantly simple, as quiet as poetry, a tranquil haven untouched by the clamor of the world. Standing in the courtyard, tears welled up in my eyes, unable to believe it was real. Quinn seemed flustered, pressing his lips together before murmuring apologetically, "You deserve better than being bound to me." In that instant, I understood what he meant. My mother leads the Orc Alliance while Ryder's family heads the Human Alliance. The pact between our sisters and Ryder's household holds the key to peaceful coexistence between all orcs and humans. That's why even after he took monastic vows, he was bound to form a marital covenant with me, condemning me to spend my remaining years tethered to an unresponsive partner. A life sentence with no reprieve. Yet I shook my head vehemently. I'm perfectly content, not the slightest grievance. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, bathing Quinn in a glow that felt both warm and divine. As I struggled to contain the bittersweet ache in my chest, with that devil Ryder gone, only the tranquil courtyard remained, and the one I loved. Nothing could be more perfect than this dreamlike moment. Quinn's eyes crinkled with a smile. "As long as you're happy." He handed me a card, the highest tier banking credential issued by the Human Alliance. As I looked at him puzzled, Quinn's eyes softened with tender affection. "Buy whatever you fancy. Come back when you need more." My fingers trembled around the card. Before I could speak, hot tears spilled down unchecked. No one has treated me this kindly since my father passed away. As I lowered my gaze, slender jade-like fingers brushed my forehead, while a gentle, amused voice whispered by my ear, "So you're a little crybaby." 7 days later would be the grand occasion of sealing our covenant. For the ceremony not only invited countless media outlets and journalists, but was also live-streamed globally, capturing the world's attention. When Juno and Ryder made their entrance, they instantly became the center of attention. Juno dazzled in a sweeping crimson gown, accentuated by striking pear-shaped diamond earrings that radiated brilliance and elegance. Standing beside Ryder in his burgundy velvet suit, the couple epitomized sophistication, a perfect match of grace and refinement. Taking in Quinn's and my simple attire, Juno curled her lips in a disdainful smirk. "Darling, it's been days. You're looking positively destitute. Shall big sister lend you a helping hand?" I replied calmly, "Thanks for your concern, but I'm doing just fine." Juno scoffed, about to retort when Quinn quietly slipped her hand into mine. He cast a fleeting glance at Juno before fixing his cold, commanding gaze on Ryder. "Keep your beastkin in check. Quinn and Ryder are cousins, with Ryder's father Theo currently heading the household. During Theo's early power struggles, his subordinates acted without orders and caused Quinn's parents' deaths, a guilt that made Theo indulge Quinn's every whim. That's why even the unruliest Ryder wouldn't dare cross Quinn lightly." Ryder's expression stiffened momentarily, a flash of anger crossing his eyes before he shot Juno an icy glare. Juno instinctively took a step back, her gaze burning with jealousy at our intertwined hands. Yet she dared not utter another word. The covenant ceremony commenced without delay. Juno was the first to ascend the platform. Clinging to Ryder's arm, I instinctively reached for Juno's arm, only to be violently shaken off. Left with nothing but her seething contempt, I sighed quietly, fully aware of my powerlessness yet unable to resist meddling where I didn't belong. Serves me right for asking for humiliation. As the ceremony proceeded, hearing the platform's oppressive restrictions imposed on beast folk, my body began trembling uncontrollably. Orcs are bound for life, forbidden to break the contract, attack their masters, or disobey any command. They must pledge undying loyalty and devotion to their bonded human, dubbed a companion contract. It's nothing more than a master-slave agreement. Even when humans permit orcs into their society, they insist on maintaining absolute control. For orcs, such a contract means staking their entire existence on the fragile hope of their master's genuine affection. Winning the gamble brings joy to all, but what if we lose? The mere thought of my past life makes my heart burn as if scalded in boiling oil, a living hell worse than death itself. Sensing my distress, Quinn gave my hand a reassuring squeeze and whispered, "Don't be afraid, I've got you." When Quinn and I took the stage, 5, as the officiant finished reciting all the covenant clauses, they turned to Quinn and asked, "Do you take this orc clove as your lawfully wedded partner?" I stared at Quinn, feeling like I was in a dream. His thin lips parted as he declared with absolute conviction, "I do not." Those 4 words sent the entire room into an uproar. My body swayed as a deafening buzz filled my ears, my entire being plunged into an icy abyss of piercing cold. He said, he refused. Amidst my stunned bewilderment and the surrounding chaos, Quinn grasped my rigid hand and raised it high. "I refuse to bind Clove with a marital contract. I only wish to stand as her equal, with mutual respect, care, and equal footing. We vow never to harm each other. Either may dissolve this bond, yet choose to walk side by side." The words left the entire hall in stunned silence. My eyes widened in disbelief. What did he say? He wants to form an equal contract with me. The concept of equal contracts was jointly proposed by a human female scientist and her orc lover. It immediately gained overwhelming support from orcs and fierce opposition from humans upon proposal. After all, it benefits the orcs while constituting absolute defiance against human contractors' dominance and authority. Amidst the heated dispute, the 2 major alliances jointly resolved, the contract proposal shall be adopted under principles of fairness and justice, strictly respecting the will of contracting parties. Participation remains entirely voluntary. To this day, only that female scientist has established an equal pact with the orcs. No other humans were willing whatsoever. Is Quinn out of his mind? The previously silent assembly erupted in chaos, with every human dignitary present casting disapproving glances at Quinn. Theo strode up to Quinn and demanded in a low voice, "Do you realize what you're saying?" Quinn stood motionless, his demeanor detached and aloof. "I'm perfectly lucid, uncle." Theo's face darkened as he stared at Quinn for a long moment. Seeing no sign of retreat, he finally let out a heavy sigh. "Fine, have it your way." Quinn's last-minute change of heart became the bombshell of the day. 6. As everyone left, curious glances were cast our way, some envious, some disdainful, others simply bewildered. The coldest gazes came from 2 particular individuals, Juno and Ryder. Juno's face twisted with unmistakable jealousy, her eyes burning with the fury of betrayal. She'd always resented others outshining her, let alone me, her younger sister she'd always looked down upon, receiving the affection she could never obtain in her previous life. How could she possibly endure this? As for Ryder, that twisted psychopath was always lurking in the shadows. Just because he didn't mess with Quinn didn't mean he acknowledged his cousin. The fact that I, a mere orc, gained Quinn's favor so quickly makes me wonder if he's got some ulterior motive. Quinn subtly shielded me from their gaze, then gently wiped the tear stains from my face with surprising tenderness. "My bad, I should have warned you first. Did I scare you?" My lips parted as tears blurred my vision, a flood of words choking in my throat with no way out. Quinn paused, then slid the prayer beads off his wrist and fastened them gently around mine. "A packed gift. May all your wishes come true." His clear eyes sparkled as he smiled faintly. No more tears after accepting this gift. Feeling the warmth radiating from the prayer beads, my tears fell harder. "Quinn, you. This wasn't the first time he'd given me prayer beads. In my past life, Ryder's torment left me broken in body and soul. When I tried escaping his household, The tight security left me circling endlessly without finding a single exit. I finally stumbled into a secluded corner and broke down in uncontrollable sobs. That's when Quinn appeared, dressed in white like an angel. He asked softly, "What's wrong? Do you need help?" Knowing he was from Ryder's family, I eyed him warily and refused to say a word. He gazed at me for a long moment before finally taking the prayer beads off his wrist and handing them to me. He said, "Don't cry now. These are for you. May they bring all your wishes to fruition." After all these twists and turns, the prayer beads somehow found their way back to me. How could such a coincidence exist in this world? Under Quinn's tender gaze, I gradually calmed myself and asked blankly, "Quinn, why are you so kind to me? In our past life, he never gave Juno prayer beads, let alone formed an equal contract with her, yet he did all this for me. Why?" Quinn froze momentarily, his usually clear eyes clouded with confusion. After a long pause, he finally murmured, "I don't know either." His cool yet mellow voice carried a barely perceptible huskiness, quietly tugging at heartstrings. "From the moment I first saw you, I knew I never wanted you to suffer again. Since that day, Quinn and I have been getting along better than ever. 7. I'm content, even if we can never be lovers. Being kindred spirits who understand each other without words is more than enough. Spending the rest of my life arranging flowers, sipping tea, practicing calligraphy, and painting by his side would be the greatest happiness." Life was peaceful. If only Juno didn't keep being such a nuisance now and then. Living together at Ryder's family meant we'd inevitably cross paths despite keeping to ourselves. Sometimes she'd even go out of her way to flaunt things at me. She pointed shamelessly at the vivid marks across her collarbone, practically preening with pride. "Darling, Ryder's skills are truly impressive. You really lucked out in your past life. But now his heart belongs entirely to me. I'm afraid you'll never get to enjoy that again." I turned to leave without arguing, but Juno grabbed me abruptly, raising her voice with a flirtatious glint in her eyes. "Sweetheart, remember when you said you were lonely and asked me to find you a couple of brawny beast men? They're ready whenever you are. Just give me a call." With a pair of phoenix eyes gleaming with schadenfreude, she turned and walked away. My heart sank as I turned to see the ethereal silver-haired beauty standing there, his presence as cold as the winter air. Who knew how much he'd overheard? Quinn's gaze locked onto me, his usually gentle eyes now frosty, his entire being as untouchable as freshly fallen snow. He'd heard everything. Just as I was about to explain, Quinn turned and walked away, leaving only a cold, resolute silhouette behind. I hurried after her, following Quinn back into the tea room. I watched as she quietly poured the tea into tasting cups, sipping in silence without so much as glancing my way. I quickly explained, "Quinn, it's not what you think. I never said those things. Juno made that up when she saw you. She just can't stand seeing me happy and wanted to turn you against me." Quinn looked up at me, her face completely unreadable. This version of Quinn felt like a stranger, and I couldn't help but feel a pang of hurt. "I don't feel lonely or empty at all. I absolutely love my life right now. Even mundane things like sharing meals or tea with you make me incredibly happy. It's okay if you can't love me back. I don't mind. I just want to stay by your side quietly, so you won't feel so alone." By the end, I could no longer hold back my emotions, crouching before him as I pleaded through tears, "Quinn, please believe me. I swear I never said." Before I could finish, Quinn stood abruptly, then knelt down amidst my confusion and panic until our eyes met. His slender, jade-like hands, carrying a faint scent of tea, cradled my face. I saw regret flash in his eyes as he let out a soft sigh. "I only meant to tease you. Forgetting what a little crybaby you are, so delicate and easily frightened. You, my anxious heart finally settled, torn between hurt and anger. How could you do this?" Quinn's eyes curved into crescents. My bad. How about I make you carrot crystal cakes as an apology today, your bunny highness?" Faced with such charm, all grievances instantly melted away. I huffed lightly. "Then I want carrot cakes for a whole week." Quinn chuckled helplessly. "Deal. Your wish is my command. I'll make them whenever you want. Just promise to trust me a little more, okay?" As I stared in slight bewilderment, Quinn's expression gradually turned solemn. "Clove, I know my faith might make you feel uneasy, but I'll prove through actions how seriously I take our bond. You'll always be my most cherished partner, respected, cared for, and protected. No petty misunderstandings will ever make me doubt you, much less abandon you. My loyalty to you is absolute, so could you try to trust me a little more from now on?" Quinn's tender words lingered in my ears, and I couldn't miss the profound guilt in his eyes. He thought it was his status or his shortcomings that made me shed tears so easily. Little did he know, Ryder's shadow over me ran so deep and painful that even the slightest disturbance would send me into panic, terrified of losing what I had. But Quinn did absolutely nothing wrong. Gazing into those clear, innocent eyes, I clenched my teeth and made a silent resolution. Under Quinn's astonished gaze, I affectionately nuzzled his neck with my manifested bunny ears as a friendly gesture. Then came the miraculous sight of how a person's cheeks could flush crimson in an instant. Quinn's androgynous beauty became utterly captivating, the rosy blush accentuating his enchanting, delicate charm. I couldn't help but gulp. He scrambled to his feet in panic and fled, nearly tripping in his haste. I stood frozen, wounded. Don't you like my ears? This was the most intimate gesture among orc kind. The beautiful Quinn remained silent. Answer me, the wooden fish percussion echoed through the Buddhist hall for a full day and night. Ever since the last contract ceremony, our sisters have become quite the sensation among beastfolk. 8. Seizing the opportunity, Mother summoned us home to select a representative who would deliver a speech encouraging more beastfolk to form contracts with humans and integrate into human society. Juno immediately volunteered. Let me handle this, Mother. After all these years of your care, it's my turn to ease your burdens. Mother smiled gently, but didn't grant her request. Instead, she turned to me. Your sister's always impulsive. You'd handle this matter more appropriately, don't you think? Juno immediately protested. Why are you playing favorites, Mother? What does Clove have that I don't? I'm obviously the orc representative between us. Juno's desperation stemmed from my past life, when my speech catapulted me to fame, launching my journey as a top influencer. Little did she know, our mother truly played favorites among the orcs. Violent extremists abound. They'd never bow to humans. Sending such representatives would be painting targets on their backs. Mother couldn't bear to expose Juno to such peril, so she used me as the more suitable excuse. This was a truth I only grasped in my past life after surviving multiple assassination attempts. No matter what anyone said, Juno simply wouldn't pass up this chance for fame. After much wheedling and pestering, Mother finally relented, tripling her security detail. As I was leaving, I handed Aunt Mist, our longtime housekeeper, a specially packed box of pastries. She beamed and thanked me in sign language. Juno saw this and violently shoved Aunt Mist aside, sending the pastries scattering across the floor. She scoffed. Clove, you're utterly pathetic, hobnobbing with servants all day. Don't you dare call yourself my sister in public. I countered calmly. Our servant's not human. Aunt Mist has cared for us all these years. Have you no basic decency toward her? A mocking smile flickered in Juno's eyes. Learn to talk back after just days apart. What? Picking up slick phrases from monks now. Pity, all bark and no bite. You're doomed to widowhood for life. I picked up the fallen pastry and placed it back properly, then turned to face Juno. Everyone knows Ryder is a bloodthirsty brute who kills without batting an eye. Sister, do you really think serving such a master will end better for you than it did for me? Juno sneered. I know you're just jealous. Jealous that I've got power, wealth, and love while you've got nothing. Pathetic loser. Clove, your destiny is to grovel beneath my feet while I rise to glory. That's your fate. From that day on, Juno delivered multiple speeches arranged by her mother. 9. She plagiarized my previous life speech script, heart-wrenching and sensational, gaining hordes of orc fans, which Ryder leveraged to launch her into showbiz. She quickly became a household name, with every move drawing frenzied adoration from fans. Juno naturally became the face of multiple brands, aggressively promoting products regardless of quality. Money was the only deciding factor. In my past life as a top celebrity, such endorsement offers were endless, but I refused to exploit my fans' trust. I meticulously vetted every endorsement deal, never signing contracts for products I didn't believe in, even under Ryder's coercion. Even as a little rabbit, I want to live with a clear conscience. But Juno's been selfish since childhood, heartless and money-driven, accepting every endorsement without a second thought for her fans' well-being. She fails to understand that public favor can make or break you. As a public figure, her reckless disregard for reputation will inevitably backfire. Sure enough, within 3 months, I saw the news about her being attacked by orc fans. As sisters living under the same roof at Ryder's family, it's only right for me to visit. Otherwise Mom would definitely scold me again. Spotting me, Juno snapped from her bed, a weasel giving New Year's greetings to a chicken. Don't pretend you mean well. Don't think I don't know you're here to laugh at me. Clove, let me tell you, I'm perfectly fine. Stop bothering me unless you've got actual business, I said coolly, with that loud voice. You clearly aren't seriously hurt. At least I can report back to Mother now, Juno sneered. Can't even bother pretending when Mother's not around. I'm still your blood sister. I poured a glass of warm water and placed it by Juno's bedside. Would you actually appreciate my concern, sister? The drawn-out sister carried unmistakable sarcasm. Juno flew into a rage, knocking over the glass with a sweep of her hand. You bitch, you're doing this on purpose to piss me off. Get the hell out. I never want to see you again. Don't you dare set foot in our yard anymore, or you'll regret it. When Juno reached out, I caught sight of faint bloodstains on her arm that hadn't been visible while she was still. A chill ran down my spine. That mark, I'd recognize it anywhere. Ryder owns an exquisite gem-encrusted dagger. His favorite pastime is restraining people to carve intricate patterns into their skin, wounds that heal without leaving scars. The first time he carved me was 3 months after my rise to fame, all because I turned down his endorsement deal. For Juno to bear this same scar at the exact same career milestone, this can't be coincidence. Noticing my gaze, Juno hurled the cushion behind her at me with force. What are you staring at? Get the hell out. I averted my searching eyes and turned to leave, pausing at the doorway. I couldn't help adding softly, I know you don't trust me, but if Ryder ever mistreats you, tell Mother. Deep down, she still cares for you. In the following days, products endorsed by Juno kept getting exposed for scandals one after another. This sparked massive backlash from her fans. The fallout didn't just affect her, it also tarnished the reputation of Ryder's family and her mother. Just as I was wondering how Mother would handle this situation, I received a video from our housekeeper, Aunt Mist. It was secretly filmed through a door crack. In the video, the mother is seen scolding Juno. I told you not to take on everything, look what happened now, and I have to clean up your mess. Juno stood by, crying bitterly. It was all Ryder's doing. Not only did he carve patterns into my skin with a knife, but he also drugged me and delivered me to another man's bed. When I resisted, he blackmailed me with those videos. What choice did I have? Her mother's heart ached with fury. How could he? How dare he? Juno collapsed to her knees, sobbing, Mother, save me. I can't go on living like this. Clutching her chest in exasperation, her mother sighed. I warned you Ryder was unworthy of being your bondmate, yet you insisted on choosing him. The contract is binding for life. How exactly am I supposed to save you now? Clutching her mother's leg desperately, Juno pleaded, Mother, I have a solution. Just let me swap places with my sister. If she becomes the elder and I the younger, I won't have to return to Ryder. Xiaohu bot prevents document forgery. For bookfinding bots, choose Xiaohu, reliable heavy checkmark and scam-free. The mother massaged her temples wearily. Even if Quinn isn't close to your sister, do you really think Ryder would be that easily fooled? Juno bit her lip. Ryder, he agreed to this too. For a moment, Mother froze. What did you say? You discussed this with him? Juno's eyes darted away as she sobbed. It was his idea. I'd never dream of making my sister suffer for me, no matter how desperate I was. But Mother, Ryder said, if we don't agree to give him my sister, he'll torture me to death. Watching Juno theatrically shift the blame onto Ryder, I couldn't help but sneer. In our past life, she'd similarly begged Mother with crocodile tears to swap our identities, only to be refused. Given a second chance, she still schemes against me instead of saving herself. Pathetic. With that thought, I set my phone aside, deciding to visit Mother instead. My mother's voice came through the phone. In that case, let's discuss how you and Clove will make the exchange. I stood frozen in place, unable to believe what I'd just heard. Did Mother actually agree? In our past life, no matter how desperately Juno begged or even threatened suicide, Mother never relented. That's why Juno resorted to poisoning me. So even when Mother clearly favored my sister, I still cherished that faint warmth she showed me, at least this once. I didn't yield to my sister, did I? But why did Mother agree without hesitation this time? As I kept thinking, something suddenly clicked in my mind. I burst into laughter, tears streaming down my face. Perhaps in my past life, I had already poured out my suffering to Mother. That's why she couldn't bear to let Juno take my place in this living hell, knowing full well what it meant. But in this life, with my happiness and security assured, Mother agreed without hesitation. So all along, she never truly forgave me. Before I knew it, Quinn had appeared by my side. He frowned and asked, why are you crying again? Who upset you? 11, without answering, I began speaking to myself. You know, I was the one who killed my father. When I was 6, my toy ball rolled into the street. As I went to retrieve it, a speeding car came straight at me. My father shielded me with his life. But he never made it out of that day. By the end, I was choking back sobs. That's why mother resents me. She never forgave me. What about father? Does he blame me too, for getting him killed? Would he never forgive me either? Quinn gazed at me serenely. Life and death follow karma's design. Release delusion, and the heart finds peace. I froze at those words, forcing a bitter smile. Right, you've already renounced worldly affairs. Why am I even telling you this? Quinn brushed away the tears at my temples, even having renounced worldly ties. I know for certain he'd never blame you. I stared in disbelief. Why? Quinn's gaze remained liquid soft yet unwavering as it held mine. You were the one your father protected with his life. He chose to risk everything to save you. How could he ever blame you for his own decision? He loved you so deeply. He'd want you to thrive, not spend your life drowning in guilt over his death. My lips trembled as the weight I'd carried for years suddenly lifted. True, father always cherished me most. If his spirit watches over me, is this really what he'd want to see? If father could see everything I'd been through, it would break his heart, wouldn't it? Had he still been here, he'd never have let me marry that bastard writer, and he certainly wouldn't have forced me to endure that monster's abuse just to maintain peace between our clans. Tears streamed down my face before I realized it. Father, I whispered, I miss you so much. The next instant, darkness swallowed my vision as I collapsed into someone's icy embrace. The faint scent of sandalwood filled the air as his cool hands awkwardly patted my back, whispering softly, does this feel better? Our bodies pressed flush together, his warm breath tickling my ear. Intimate and electrifying, my mind went completely blank, yet the instigator remained blissfully unaware. From now on, I'll protect you in your father's stead. No one will ever bully you again. Is that acceptable, Lord Bunny? Lord Bunny felt blood rushing to his head, losing control as his true form emerged in an instant. Then I felt the cool embrace suddenly turn rigid, frozen in time without the slightest movement. After a prolonged standoff, I finally couldn't resist looking up. The silver-haired beauty's eyes brimmed with flustered panic, a bashful blush spreading from cheeks down the neck, even tinting the very tips of their ears crimson enough to draw blood. A sudden whimsical thought surfaced. Quinn, are you actually blushing? The silver-haired beauty froze. As if suddenly finding her way home, she released her grip and hurried away. Left alone, I watched her retreating figure through tearful laughter, murmuring, my fair Quinn, so your Tao heart isn't as steady as it seems. 3 days later, mother called me home for dinner. I put away my phone and blurted out to Quinn without thinking. Well, Quinn, what if I get into trouble out there? Will you always have my back? Quinn nodded. I'll stand by you no matter what. But I'd rather face things together when they come. Gazing into those utterly sincere eyes, I silently apologized. I'm sorry, Quinn. I can't do this. You're too pure. In this life or any other, I won't drag you into my mess. But just hearing you say that means everything to me. Under Quinn's searching gaze, I stuck out my tongue. Just kidding. Mom's calling me home for dinner. Returning home, I found the usual guards and servants absent. Mother must have dismissed them deliberately. The table was laden with dishes, including my favorite carrot and pork rib soup already served in my bowl. I noticed a note on the table left by my mother. She wrote about some urgent matter and told me to start eating without waiting for her. As I lifted the spoon from the bowl, my peripheral vision caught the blinking red light of a surveillance camera nearby, and my gaze turned icy. Mother, would you really go this far for Juno? But I'm your daughter too. I calmly drank the pork rib soup before me, then soon collapsed limply onto the dining table. Shortly after I fell, rapid footsteps approached from a distance. My hair stood on end. No matter how much time passed, the sound of Ryder's footsteps would always be the nightmare that haunted me. They had indeed struck a deal. Ryder would assault me, then my mother would step in to coerce and manipulate me into swapping identities with Juno. This way, Ryder not only got me, the one Quinn desired, but also planted Juno by Quinn's side, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. What a cunning scheme. Pity for you. I'll never let you have your way. I let Ryder carry me out of the dining room and into the nearest bedroom. He laid me on the bed, brushed his hand across my face, then began hastily undressing. Seizing the moment of his complete unawareness, I rose silently and plunged the syringe into his side, pressing the plunger in one swift motion. A dose of anesthetic potent enough to knock out a grizzly bear flooded Ryder's system instantly, who, He tore off his shirt in panic, eyes wide with shock. You're unharmed, spitting out the mouth sponge with a contemptuous glare. I sneered, of course I am, you're even dumber than I thought, believing my own mother would help you betray me. Ryder staggered with rage, his eyes blazing. You bitch, you and your mother-daughter trio conspired against me. With a faint smirk, I shoved him onto the bed. Don't be angry, young Master Ryder, the real show hasn't even begun. As Ryder stared in horror, I grabbed the handcuffs from the bedside and clamped them around his wrists. Ryder squirmed like a catfish on a chopping board, completely at my mercy. 13. I tilted his chin up with my finger. Did you prepare this prop yourself? Quite impressive. Ryder weakly kicked his legs, shrinking back inch by inch. What are you going to do to me? I effortlessly retrieved the gem-encrusted dagger from his trouser pocket, twirling it between my fingers. What you did to my sister, I'll do to you. Ryder's face twisted in feigned ferocity, eyes wide with terror. You wouldn't dare. My father's Theo. Lay one finger on me and he'll make you pay. With a derisive snort, my blade flashed down, carving a chunk of flesh from his arm. I held the bloody strip of flesh before Ryder's eyes and sneered, your father may lead the humans, but our mother commands the orcs. Who's to say who'd win if we truly fought? Ryder's pupils dilated as he recognized the flesh, his teeth chattering as he stammered, I was wrong, I swear I'll never hurt Juno again, just let me go, this stays between us. I'll take it to my grave, watching this person I loathed to the bone in my past life beg for mercy so effortlessly. A flash of ruthlessness crossed my eyes. So Ryder, you do know fear after all, but this hatred in my heart, how could a single strike ever be enough? I gave him a faint smile, then seized the moment of his slight relaxation to drive the blade deep again. Even a rabbit will bite when cornered. Blame yourself for hurting my sister. She's the apple of our mother's eye. Under Ryder's hateful glare, I patted his cheek in mock reassurance. But don't worry, Mother ordered me to spare your life, so I'll make sure you crawl back home alive. In less than 15 minutes, Ryder was covered in wounds under my hands. His bare torso was completely drenched in blood, leaving only a vivid, grotesque floral tattoo swaying mockingly. I admired my handiwork with satisfaction, even snapping a photo as a memento. Exhausted from his relentless cursing, Ryder suddenly found renewed vigor when he saw me stop. You reckless bastard, either kill me now or I swear I'll make you pay when I get out. Watching his venomous glare, I smirked and drove the blade straight into his most precious asset below, a perfect bullseye strike as blood rapidly pooled beyond salvation. Not even divine intervention could save him now, I cheerfully remarked. What a coincidence. Mother didn't let me off the hook either. A violent crash came from outside the door, followed by hurried footsteps. I whirled around in shock. 14. One glance, and my dagger clattered to the ground. Quinn, what are you doing here? The sweet taste of vengeance was instantly drowned in confusion. I stood frozen like a guilty child, unable to meet his gaze. As the prayer beads scattered across the floor one by one, a dull ache spread through my body, soon consuming every limb. Quinn must be regretting making that deal with me after seeing this. You don't just dislike me, you probably never want to see me again, do you? He's so pure and radiant, while I'm stained with blood. How could I ever deserve to spend my life with him? I shut my eyes tightly, and just the thought made me feel like I was being swallowed by an abyss, the pain so intense I could barely breathe. After who knows how long, a cool, firm touch suddenly wrapped around my wrist. My eyes flew open instinctively as an unseen force dragged me relentlessly toward the exit. When I reached the doorway, horror struck me. The entire front door lay dismantled on the ground. Outside stood two dense rows of hulking figures clad in black. Before I could utter a single question, Quinn unceremoniously shoved me into the passenger seat. In the rearview mirror, I saw my mother and the guards rushing toward us, but Quinn ignored them completely, flooring the accelerator and leaving them in the dust. Quinn remained silent the entire ride. His face was expressionless, yet his entire being radiated a glacial, murderous aura. I shrank into the passenger seat corner, too terrified to utter a word. We could only watch as he raced like the wind, covering what should have been a 2-hour drive in just 30 minutes, practically flying back to Ryder's family. After getting out of the car, Quinn strode ahead into the courtyard where he lived. I followed cautiously behind him, automatically closing the courtyard gate out of habit. The moment I turned after shutting the gate, a sudden force gripped the back of my neck, followed immediately by the startling coolness of lips crashing against mine. Ruthless and domineering, my eyes widened in Disbelief, everything happening before my eyes defies all comprehension, as if punishing my distraction. My lower lip was caught between teeth, not too gentle, not too rough, and the sharp sting made me part my lips instinctively. Then came their relentless advance, claiming my mouth like conquered territory, sucking, tangling, a feverish dance that felt like it would last until our last breath. MMPH. My dazed mind combined with Quinn's devastating beauty at close range nearly suffocated me before I barely regained my senses. Pushing the man away, I grew increasingly flustered under his icy gaze and stammered, "Have you lost your mind? You're supposed to be a monk." Quinn loomed over me, chest heaving, eyes completely bloodshot as he growled, "Yes, I've gone mad. Seeing you standing there covered in blood, all talk of detachment and purity went out the window. Only one thought filled my mind. I'll never let you leave my side again in this lifetime, so what if I break my vows? This is my choice, and you'll have to accept it whether you like it or not." I stared at him in stunned silence. My heart, after a moment of eerie stillness, began pounding violently. I rushed forward to wrap my arms around his waist, holding tight. "I'm not unwilling, it's just so sudden. I'm afraid you might regret this, silly little rabbit." Quinn pulled me flush against him, lips brushing my ear as he murmured, "When prayer beads snap, bloodlust awakens. There's no turning back now, nor do I wish to." As shivers raced down my neck, reason crumbled. My body thrummed with unfamiliar longing, unable to resist reaching out to hook my fingers around his neck, my bunny ears teasingly brushing against him. "Master, would you like to?" Quinn's breath hitched as if scorched by invisible flames, his gaze burning with restless desire. My eyes trailed down to his bobbing Adam's apple. Silence meant consent, after all, but Quinn suddenly turned his face away. "Not now." Only then did I remember the blood all over me, feeling slightly awkward. "I should go shower first." Quinn let out a soft chuckle. Before I could even get annoyed, he turned and cupped my face, reclaiming his dominance once more. This time, it wasn't as domineering as before. Instead, there was a gentle, soothing quality to it, as if he were kissing the most precious treasure in the world. The feeling of being cherished so deeply made me instinctively deepen the kiss with Quinn, losing myself completely in the moment. After what felt like an eternity, Quinn was the first to pull away. Through my dazed vision, I saw his gaze, tender yet solemn. "We humans have a tradition. If a man wishes to unite with the woman he loves, he should at least offer her a grand wedding first." I murmured in protest, "We beast folk don't stand on ceremony." Quinn pulled me into his arms, bending down to whisper, "Patience, little rabbit, I won't keep you waiting long." After that day, Quinn went to see Theo. I never learned what they discussed, only that Quinn returned completely transformed, his long hair gone forever. 15. Ryder vanished without a trace, and neither my mother nor Juno ever reached out to me again, yet I couldn't shake the feeling that our twisted fate was far from over. Soon after, multiple mutilated bodies of young beastkin girls were discovered in the outskirts, their lower bodies torn apart and flesh carved with horrific knife wounds. The gruesome mass murder quickly became a national sensation. The investigation revealed one common trait among all victims: they were Juno's fans. Under mounting public pressure, the Alliance decided to put Juno on public trial. Quinn and I were invited to observe the trial, but I sensed something wasn't right from the start. True enough, Juno immediately pointed at me and started causing trouble when the trial began. "Little sister, even now you refuse to repent. Do you think my life offered in atonement would spare you the torment of conscience?" The courtroom erupted in murmurs, dozens of scrutinizing eyes burning into my face. The magistrate pressed urgently, "Are you implying Clove's involvement in this matter?" Juno gave a hesitant nod, then shook her head, her lips parted as if words stuck in her throat. My mother immediately scolded me, "You ungrateful girl, get down from there this instant." Quinn and I locked eyes, then hand in hand we stepped onto the tribunal platform, standing directly opposite Juno. "Tigerbot anti-piracy solution. Choose Tigerbot for document authentication, reliable service." Nottinghamshire. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Juno set aside her resentment and began recounting her ordeal between sobs. "Ever since I chose my bonded mate, my younger sister kept saying how envious she was. She wanted to be a superstar too, to grow old lovingly with her own chosen partner. So she imprisoned me, stole my identity. Not only did she recklessly take endorsement deals, she even grew jealous of fans, beastfolk girls prettier than her, luring them out to murder them in cold blood. When I finally escaped, I never imagined It was all my sister's scheme to frame me for her crimes. Juno broke down completely by the end, pleading through tears, "Little sister, you must stop this madness." The crowd widened their eyes in shock at this unexpected twist. The magistrate didn't take her words at face value, but eyed her skeptically. "Words alone prove nothing. Do you have evidence?" Juno nodded and quietly removed her outer garment, revealing arms and back covered in scars. A collective gasp rippled through the audience. The fresh and old knife scars on Juno's body bore an uncanny resemblance to those on the orc corpses, lending significant credibility to her account. The Inquisitor remained skeptical. "Those scars don't conclusively prove Clove was the perpetrator. I have witnesses." Juno bit her lip. "My bond master recently discovered my sister had impersonated me. She was similarly attacked and remains in intensive care. And my sister's patron, knowing full well what happened, still shielded her. How dare he claim to be a Buddhist?" As she spoke, Juno presented Ryder's medical report along with surveillance footage showing Ryder embracing me in the restaurant, followed by me, covered in blood, being taken away by Quinn while Ryder was carried out on a stretcher. At this point, the evidence is irrefutable. The crowd's accusatory stares pierced Quinn and me like knives, their expressions practically screaming they wanted to tear us limb from limb. I just scoffed. "Mother, don't you have anything to say about why Ryder was holding me?" My mother stiffened at being addressed, then lamented with visible anguish, "Clove, I know you've always been fiercely competitive since childhood, and your sister constantly yielded to you, but I never imagined you'd become this brazen. Not only did you imprison your own sister, you actually committed so many murders. Have you no shame for betraying my teachings? I truly regret ever giving birth to you." With that, my mother bowed deeply before the tribunal. "I am Clove's mother, but I am also the orc chieftain. These slain orc maidens were my children too, and I will never tolerate such atrocities. I hereby demand Clove's immediate execution to deliver justice for all." My mother's words and actions became the final straw that sealed my fate beyond doubt. The onlookers erupted in fervor at the sight, chanting in unison, "Execute her, execute her." 16. The judge motioned with his hand, and the two guards monitoring Juno turned toward me. Quinn stepped directly in front of me. Guards instantly trained their weapons on us as the judge sternly warned, "Do not interfere with judicial proceedings." Quinn stood firm as a mountain, refusing to yield. I stepped out from behind him and calmly addressed the Inquisitor. "After all they've said, don't I deserve to be heard too?" Before the Inquisitor could respond, Juno urgently cried out, "Little sister, stop this. If you truly repent, I'd willingly die in your place. What else would an elder sister do?" Mother joined in scolding me. "Clove, after all this you still refuse to repent. Do you want to drive your sister and me to our graves? Execute her immediately, execute her immediately." The crowd's chants grew louder and more insistent, as if my execution was already a foregone conclusion. Order in the court. The judge struck the gavel. "We shall let no guilty man escape, nor any innocent man suffer. Speak your mind freely." I nodded slightly. "Your Honor, I don't deny assaulting Ryder. But as for imprisoning Juno, identity theft, and murdering fans, I had nothing to do with any of those crimes." Amidst the boos from the audience, the judge sternly demanded, "Then why did you harm Ryder?" I scanned the courtroom before responding calmly, "Because he tried to assault me." The plot twist silenced the spectators instantly, everyone straining to catch my next words. Every scar on Juno's body came from Ryder. When she couldn't endure the abuse, she begged our mother to swap our identities. Not only did mother agree, she drugged me. That's why Ryder was seen holding me in the restaurant. The judge frowned, clearly skeptical. Even the most biased mother wouldn't show such blatant favoritism, would she? What if the mother despised her own daughter? I gave a bitter chuckle and recounted how my father's death was tied to me, drawing gasps of pity from the crowd. My mother staggered as if struck. "You wicked girl. To twist the truth, you'd even drag your deceased father into this." I clapped my hands, and several elderly figures immediately rose from the audience. I said calmly, "They were all former servants of my household. They can verify my claims." After questioning each witness, the judge turned to me. "These testimonies only confirm your strained relationship, nothing more. Do you have other evidence?" I nodded with unwavering confidence, turning to face Juno. "Sister, now that you've shown your video, care to watch mine?" When I projected the video Aunt Mist had sent me onto the big screen, Mother collapsed instantly. while Juno went berserk trying to charge off the witness stand before being restrained by guards. 17. The truth became crystal clear. The investigation revealed that Ryder, traumatized by my actions, had descended into depravity and forced Juno to procure women for him. Bound by her contract master's orders, Juno had no choice but to exploit her loyal followers' trust, leading them down this path of no return. After the incident, Ryder struck a deal with his mother. They pinned the whole thing on me while dragging Quinn into the mess. Once Ryder inherits the Ryder family legacy, the trio will jointly control both alliances, leaving no rivals standing. In the end, the decision was reached through joint deliberation between the two major alliances. Ryder was sentenced to death, Juno received life imprisonment, while my mother was dismissed and investigated, her lifelong efforts reduced to nothing. Simultaneously, the regulation prohibiting beast folk from disobeying their contractors was abolished, requiring all actions to remain within legal boundaries. After the verdict, Theo presented a paternity test proving no biological relation to Ryder, declaring him merely an abandoned infant found by the roadside. He subsequently resigned to take responsibility, handing over all affairs of the human alliance to Quinn. My mother had already been depressed after being removed from her position, and the news of Juno's imprisonment sent her into such a rage that she suffered a stroke and was hospitalized. No matter what, you must see me. After some thought, I decided to go. In the hospital, my mother's ward was tucked away in a remote corner where not a single ray of morning sunshine could reach, while the caretaker kept berating her. Seeing my once proud and dignified mother reduced to this state left me with a tumult of conflicting emotions. Instead of complaining, Mother desperately clutched my hand with all her strength, gasping, "Save your sister." Under her pleading gaze, I broke free from her grasp with just a slight tug. Tucking the blanket gently around her, I said calmly, "Mother, do you know something? I used to loathe myself just like you do, wished it had been me who died back then, but I've made peace with it now. Father gave his life for mine, not so I'd spend it drowning in regret, and certainly not for you to hurt me without restraint. That's why I won't save Juno, nor will I visit you again. This is our final goodbye. Take care of yourself." Mother's eyes flickered with rare confusion at my words, then hardened into their usual resentment. "Ungrateful, get out." Seeing not a trace of remorse in her even now, I resolved to give her one final gift. Leaning close, I whispered one sentence into her ear, then her entire body began convulsing violently, followed by a putrid stench. The caregiver couldn't help complaining. She wet herself again. "Your old lady sure keeps us on our toes." I turned and gave her a faint smile. "I'll transfer the caregiving fees on time. I'm counting on you from now on." Stepping out of the hospital, I checked my watch. Still early. I made a detour to the prison. 18. It had been ages since we last met, and Juno looked haggard, worse off than when she'd been with Ryder. Spotting me, Juno threw herself against the glass. "Sis, please, I'll never cross you again. Get me out of here." Juno's figure blurred with memories of our past life. She'd killed me, but her guilt surfaced just as quickly. Not only did I end up behind bars, but it also gave people ammunition to attack my mother. The twists of fate made me sigh. Even in this second life, Juno, you've still come to this. Juno froze for a moment before burying her face in her hands, sobbing, "I didn't want this. I never wanted this. Sis, you know how terrifying Ryder is, right? He forced me into this. I couldn't say no. I'm innocent." A sardonic smile curled at the corners of my lips. "If you're innocent, then there are no villains left in this world." I made a pact with Ryder too, yet I've never harmed anyone. Had you not been so greedy from the start, had you refused those shady endorsements, how could you have sunk this low? Even when Ryder tortured and pressured you, you could have turned to Mother and me. Instead, you were hell-bent on making me your scapegoat. Now Mother's paralyzed in the hospital, and you're rotting behind bars for life. Happy now. Mother's paralyzed. Juno's face twisted with urgency. Can she still get me out of here? Watching my sister, the golden child Mother doted on for lifetimes, show not an ounce of concern for her condition, obsessed only with her own predicament. A chill ran through me as I spat. "Give it up. Mother won't come to your rescue. Not in this lifetime." Juno's eyes widened in disbelief. "Lies. Mother would never abandon me. What did you do to her? Did you sabotage my rescue? Clove, I'm warning you, let Mother go right now, or I swear I'll haunt you from beyond the grave." Under Juno's increasingly deranged gaze, I simply smiled. "I didn't do anything. I merely told her the truth about who deliberately threw my toy ball onto the street." Stepping out of the prison, a silver-haired beauty stood tall in the slanting sunlight. Her eyes were gentle and luminous, like a mountain moon that melts all worries away. 19. My lost heart suddenly found its compass. I dashed over joyfully and threw myself into her arms without ceremony. You came, Quinn caught me. Steadily, his eyes glinting, something important came up. That's why I'm here. I took a deep breath. Don't tell me the Alliance is in trouble again. Ever since the Orc Alliance's leadership became vacant, everyone unanimously elected that Orc who fell in love with the female scientist. Who knew that guy would insist on appointing me as his assistant, claiming that since I'd also signed the Equality Pact, I should help more orcs. Since when do orcs talk like that? Absolutely outrageous. Quinn somehow talked me into it, and just like that, my peaceful days were gone. I've been running around non-stop ever since. I even had to squeeze in time for wedding dress fittings. Quinn chuckled and ruffled my hair. Don't worry, even if the sky falls today, it won't interfere with our important business. I looked up at him. What important business do we have? Quinn said with complete seriousness. Naturally, life's most important matter. Getting married. Oh, marriage. Wait, didn't we just have the wedding dress fitting the day before yesterday? What's the rush? That very night, the little bunny experienced firsthand just how impatient her destined partner truly was. This is truly urgent. On my wedding night, I had a dream. I dreamed of a handsome youth whose hair turned white overnight when his parents passed away, and how this youth blossomed into natural grace, yet remained alone in the prayer hall, serene, detached, and at peace with the world. His barren heart finally stirred when he encountered a weeping bunny beast. He gifted the prayer beads he'd carried for years to the creature. To his amusement and annoyance, the recipient didn't thank him but instead fled in panic, clutching the beads. From that moment, the little bunny beast occupied his thoughts. Knowing her timid nature, he found solace in just a distant glance, never daring to hope for more, until one day, the youth keenly noticed something off about the rabbit beast. That wasn't her usual gaze, so the youth cautiously probed his cousin, who happened to be the rabbit beast's contracted master, only to discover his cousin had known all along, reveling in the thrill of absolute control. I lowered my gaze. Had fate not granted me a second chance? Why would Juno be so attentive to me now? The investigation's outcome brought tears to the orphaned boy's eyes for the first time, an inexplicable ache gripping his heart. He sensed his emotions spiraling out of control, even a murderous impulse surfacing, yet couldn't fathom its origin. 3 days of kneeling before the Buddha steadied his mind enough to deliver the killer to justice. He even went out of his way to make trouble for that incompetent mother rabbit, yet no matter what he did, a void remained in his heart, a gap no Buddhist scriptures could fill. Then one day, he set out alone for the sacred Buddha mountain revered by all, kneeling every 3 steps, bowing every 3 paces. He climbed 6,600 stone steps over 3 days and nights, all to seek an answer within. Neither storm nor injury could halt his advance. With unwavering devotion, he staggered forward step by step toward the finish line. At journey's end, no deity awaited, only a weepy, delicate bunny girl. The boy wasn't disappointed, but suddenly blushed and said, "You're too good for someone like me, and, story 2, I was reborn 1 month before the apocalypse. I know that in a month, zombies will take over the world. I must survive this time. My name is Penny." Just before I was reborn, I was having a spat with my boyfriend, Amos. Suddenly, a zombie rushed over and scratched me. I swear I had never seen such a horrifying face, empty eye sockets oozing with rotting blood. The zombie, oblivious to the pain despite missing an arm, firmly grabbed my arm, ready to bite. Amos ran over anxiously, pushed him away, and dragged me away. Later, more and more zombies appeared, trapping us. Amos shielded me under his body, his blood flowing from the bites, yet he gently covered my eyes and whispered, "Don't be scared, Penny." The pain of being torn apart came swiftly and left even quicker. Soon I lost consciousness. After an unknown amount of time, I opened my eyes to find myself lying in bed in my pajamas, perfectly intact. Had actually been reborn. I was reborn 1 month before the zombie outbreak. Knowing the urgency, I quickly ordered online 100 boxes of instant noodles, 100 bags of rice, 100 bags of flour, and 100 barrels of mineral water. With a month left before the apocalypse, I must not repeat the same mistakes. Looking at my current residence, thanks to my affluent family background, my parents had spoiled me since childhood and bought a 4-story villa with a large rooftop in the southern part of the city. It could store a lot. My parents lived downtown, not too far from me. I hurriedly called them about an emergency. asking my dad to bring everything edible from home in his biggest car without asking many questions. They said they would come over after finishing their tasks. After calling my parents, I called my boyfriend, Amos, remembering how I had been unreasonably upset with him before my rebirth, and how he had stayed to protect me despite being able to escape, resulting in his death under a zombie's bite, his handsome face marred by flowing blood. My eyes couldn't help but fill with tears. Dialing his number, I heard Amos's gentle and pleasant voice. "What's wrong, Penny?" Amos and I were childhood friends. His parents and mine were business partners and close family friends. A tragic accident took his parents away, and my parents took Amos in, raising him like their own son. He was the heartthrob of the school, I was the beauty queen. Sounds like a match made in heaven, right? Indeed, we ended up together, but he was always gentle with me, never overly affectionate, which made me feel sometimes as if he didn't love me as much. My biggest regret now is that argument we had that day. If only I hadn't insisted on going out, maybe Amos wouldn't have. "Hello, Penny, are you listening?" "Yes, Amos, I miss you so much, please come and stay with me." I felt weary, the zombie's face seemed so close. I needed to get my parents and Amos to my place quickly, as it was the best spot to stock up. After hanging up, I went to the underground garage to pick a car. Since my family was wealthy, we had a private villa with its own underground parking lot. I drove an SUV to the nearest large department store. I went straight to the point, found a store employee, and under the guise of a company bulk purchase, got their staff to help me transport items. First, I needed freezers. 5 big ones were essential, then 100 packs of toilet paper and 200 packs of sanitary pads. Next, I focused on staple foods. Start moving everything right away. 100 bags of rice, 100 bags of flour, 100 boxes of instant noodles, and 200 boxes of self-heating rice meals. We also need to stock up heavily on protein-rich foods. 100 boxes of eggs, 200 pounds each of beef, lamb, pork, and chicken, and 200 pounds of frozen fish. Most importantly, we need water. Let's start with 100 barrels of water since we have a high-end water purification system at home, so I'm not worried about water supply. Let's also get 100 pounds of assorted snacks and 50 cases of various beverages. After buying all these items, I was exhausted. With my last bit of energy, I gave the workers my home address and watched as they moved everything to the 4th floor of my house. The 4th floor is essentially a storage space, and since the 3rd and 4th floors are unused, there was still plenty of room left after everything was moved. At this point, my parents and Amos arrived and, seeing the workers carrying loads up and down, asked me in confusion, "Penny, are we preparing for some kind of disaster?" After the last group of workers left, I brought my parents and Amos to the living room and said gravely, "Dad, Mom, Amos, I have traveled back from 30 days in the future. In 30 days, the Earth will face an apocalypse with zombies roaming the streets, sparing almost no one alive, not even me. If you don't believe me, it's 7 p.m. now, just wait, and soon the news will report that City A is about to experience the biggest rainstorm in history." My boyfriend Amos thoughtfully took out his phone, and my skeptical parents turned on the TV. Sure enough, the broadcast confirmed that City A was about to face an unprecedented rainstorm and advised residents to take precautions. The 4 of us sat in silence until Amos broke it, saying, "I've placed some orders online for grains and oils. Let's all prepare food for this month." I believe Penny's words. The apocalypse is nearing, and time is of the essence. A day has already passed, and we still have a lot to prepare. Tomorrow, I'll find a technician to reinforce the fences outside with solid steel, making them high enough to prevent zombies from climbing over. We'll install bulletproof glass on the roof and cover the villa with it. All the villa's windows should also be replaced with bulletproof glass to enhance safety. Tonight, your mom and I will head to a distant supermarket to bring back more grains and oils. You should also head to farther supermarkets. Make sure to spread out the purchases to avoid drawing attention. After we install the bulletproof glass and reinforced fences tomorrow, we'll buy 3 solar generators and install them on the rooftop, as the apocalypse might also bring power outages. Our parents were quick to agree, and we were ready to act. This time we went out again, but with Amos driving a newly rented large truck. Penny, in this coming apocalypse, Amos hadn't finished speaking when I burst into tears. "Amos, you died trying to save me from a zombie attack." I know. Amos pulled the car over and held me tightly. "This isn't a dream, you're still here with me. which is wonderful, Amos, and you too." I was stunned. Could it be that Amos had also traveled back in time? "Yes, Penny, when I heard your call, I thought I was dreaming. Thankfully, you are real and right here with me. I'm back now, and this time I won't let you get hurt again." Amos released me and affectionately stroked my hair. "I used to be so capricious, Amos. From now on, we need to live well together." I wiped away my tears and gave him a smile. "It's great that we are both back and still together." We switched to a different department store since the previous one had been completely cleared out by me. To avoid drawing attention, we couldn't go back there. Using the company's anniversary celebration as a pretext, Amos took me to a new department store to stock up. The store manager stuck close by, unable to stop smiling. Amos planned more meticulously than I did, purchasing even more items, enough to last us 3 to 5 years. First, we got our staple foods and protein: 50 barrels of oil, 100 bags of rice, 100 bags of flour, 100 barrels of water, 100 bags of chips, 100 kilograms of beef, 100 kilograms of lamb, 50 kilograms of pork, and 50 kilograms of chicken. Next were the frozen foods: 100 frozen fish, 100 bags of frozen shrimp, 100 bags of frozen dumplings, and 100 bags of frozen wontons. Finally, we picked up 50 extra-large power banks and charged them all once we got home. Workers helped us load everything into the car to take to my house. My parents hadn't returned yet. After a long and busy move, the 4th floor was almost full now. My house looked like a massive warehouse. Thankfully, we still had the yard and the 3rd floor. Our house is large, with 4 bedrooms, 2 living rooms, 2 bathrooms, and a kitchen on each of the 1st and 2nd floors. We planned to leave the 1st floor uninhabited, and if needed, we could even turn it into a storage room. While we were resting, my parents returned. They too had rented a truck, and the amount of stuff the workers unloaded was even more absurd: 10 sets of bedding, 20 down jackets, 5 boxes of medicine, 100 bags of frozen crayfish, 50 packs of seasoning sauce, 50 bags of rice, 50 bags of flour, 10 barrels of oil, and 100 boxes of various snacks, 100 barrels of water, 50 boxes of compressed biscuits, 10 kitchen knives, 50 bottles of shower gel, 50 bars of soap, 50 bottles of facial cleanser, 20 toothbrushes, 100 boxes of toothpaste, and 100 towels, 10 kilograms of live crabs, several packets of vegetable seeds, and 20 live broiler chickens. Lastly, from their bag, they pulled out 10 Nepalese kukris and 10 batons. Indeed, the older, the wiser, their preparations were even more thorough. Finally, after all the workers had left, our 4th floor was completely filled. The 4 of us each chose a bedroom to settle into. My father had notified his company that he wouldn't be going in for the month. My mother, who owned a flower shop, had closed it and brought some flower seeds and pots, declaring that romance wouldn't die even in the apocalypse. I was speechless. That night, as Amos and I lay in bed, I said, "Amos, I'm scared this is all a dream." Amos held my hand tightly. "It's not, Penny, this time, we're going to make it through." Early the next morning, the renovation workers arrived. My parents continued to go out and purchase supplies, even though we already had enough to last 10 years. But it's better to be safe than sorry. Amos and I stayed at home to supervise the work, because we paid them well. Over 10 renovation workers managed to install solar panels and bulletproof reinforced glass by noon, and they began to fortify the perimeter fence in the afternoon. In our villa area to the south of the city, the number of residents was neither too many nor too few, and occasionally someone would pass by. People would curiously scrutinize and ask why we had surrounded a perfectly good villa in such an ugly manner. Amos used me as a shield, claiming that I suffered from paranoia and that this was the only way I could feel safe. Our neighbor shook his head in resignation and walked away, muttering about how a perfectly fine girl could have psychological issues. This left me embarrassed and flustered, and I ended up hitting Amos. As night fell, the renovations were finally completed, and the workers happily left with their hefty pay. Our steel fence, or rather, what could no longer be called just a fence but a steel wall, now featured 6 windows, each fitted with bulletproof tempered glass. We couldn't be seen from the outside, but we could see out. The roof was made of a combination of tempered wire and glass, which was breathable and didn't obstruct our view of the sky. At this time, my parents also returned. My mother mysteriously carried a white box upstairs, while my father and the movers brought a treadmill into our living room and moved various soy products and instant foods to the third floor, quickly filling up a room there. Penny, the air conditioning technician, will come tomorrow, and Dad bought 3 more solar generators. Just to be safe, we'll install a large floor-standing air conditioner on each of the 4 floors, capable of both heating and cooling, to cope with extreme weather. For now, let's eat out, and try not to use the supplies at home. While Dad doesn't advocate for junk food, it won't be for many days, so let's indulge a bit. My dad really was prescient. The next day, while my parents were home, the renovation and moving workers were stunned by the appearance of our house, but they didn't comment and just left after completing their work. Amos and I went for a walk outside, where I bought some of my favorite perfumes, lipsticks, and other cosmetics. Even though the apocalypse was upon us, I couldn't neglect my upkeep, and I could finally spend freely. Amos looked at me as if I were foolish. After returning home, the 4 of us went out for a barbecue. My dad, struck by a sudden whim, decided to buy a barbecue grill for the chance to grill together sometime. On the 3rd day, my parents brought back the grill and various seasonings, and the rice and flour I ordered online also arrived. We spent the whole day laboriously moving everything. On the 7th day, my parents brought back hot pot equipment and an induction cooker, along with various beef and lamb rolls. On the 10th day, they brought back an air fryer, several cake bases, cream, and tart shells. On the 13th day, they hired workers to install soundproofing in the internal and external walls of our house. On the 15th day, they bought hose and began farming. On the 16th day, worried we might run out of seeds, they bought more seeds and a telescope. Are you wondering what I was doing? I wasn't just lazing around. To prevent zombies from climbing into our house, we cautiously cut down the trees around our house and removed them. We were also busy fortifying our underground garage, reinforcing the roller doors. We even bought an RV on installment loans, thinking money might not be useful once the apocalypse hits. I parked most of our cars outside the community, leaving only the RV and a sports car that might be useful for escape. We stored 20 boxes of oil in the underground garage and surrounded it with fireproof material, just in case we needed to relocate. To prevent zombies from digging through, we poured concrete around the external walls of our house. Now, unless an army comes, no one can break in. As the apocalypse drew nearer, I frequently suffered from headaches at night, and so did Amos. Maybe it was the tension. Under such stress, it's easy to wear oneself out. I need to take a break and rest for a few days. With only 4 days left until the apocalypse, the tension in me, Amos, and my parents is mounting. Our 3rd and 4th floors are packed with supplies, more than we could ever use up. We could even take in 2 more people, but in the apocalypse, there's no room for sympathy. Human nature is unreliable, and we must rely only on ourselves. Penny, is there a chance that the apocalypse might not happen after 4 days? My mom still harbored some hope. No, Mom, we can't change history, I sighed. The pain of being torn by zombies felt as fresh as if it happened yesterday. I still shudder at the memory. Let's have a meeting, Dad, Mom, Amos. We gathered in the living room on the 2nd floor. Even the 1st floor was nearly filled up. We had even moved the beds to the underground garage to save space, planning not to use the 1st floor anymore. The apocalypse is imminent. In these times, we must not show mercy. The first to go are the naive. We can only ensure our own safety and cannot look out for others. In this world, there are no laws, no humanity. Do you understand? Amos nodded, and my parents exchanged glances, looking at me with relief, praising how quickly I'd matured. On the last day of the countdown to the apocalypse, my parents secretly brought back several boxes, without any workers, and hurriedly moved them to the underground garage. I didn't ask what they were, and my parents didn't elaborate. Today, we ordered our last takeout because when the sun rises tomorrow, the world will change. Amos, Penny, come look, my parents called us to the 2nd floor terrace. Using the binoculars they'd bought, I looked into the distance. The man who was on guard duty in a security uniform yesterday was now frantically biting a woman. Shouts echoed through the neighborhood, and blood-soaked bodies on the ground slowly stood up, wandering the streets like zombies. My God, what are these things? My mother exclaimed. Zombies. I watched calmly. In my previous life, they were right next to me, biting the man I loved. This time around, I was much calmer, though my stomach still churned. Amos covered my eyes, urging me not to look. We all returned to the living room. My mother seemed dazed, but my father was relatively calm. Are we just supposed to stay at home now? My mother asked. No one answered. What else could we do besides stay home? Starting today, we'll take turns keeping watch. Our house is sturdy, but it's too conspicuous. Looking from the outside like an impenetrable fortress, it might fend off zombies, but it could also attract others. My father didn't continue, and we fell silent. The mood was heavy, and despite the soundproofing, screams from outside still reached our ears. The sounds of collisions, cries, and howls were incessant. I'm no saint, but how could I remain unmoved by the tragedy of the apocalypse? I'll go check on the chickens in the yard. Amos and I went to the yard, and I started feeding the chickens, raising chickens in the front and gardening in the back. Had it not been for the apocalypse, I actually would have cherished such a life. Amos wrapped his arms around me, kissed my cheek, and said, Penny, it's okay, today was a good start, at least we all survived, right, Amos? I'm really scared, those monsters outside terrify me. Amos held me close, silently by my side. On the first day of the apocalypse, Amos and I stayed up through the night while our elderly parents kept watch during the day. Being younger, we could handle it. That first night, I stood on the elevated rooftop of the fourth floor, which was also filled with vegetables we had planted. The seeds hadn't sprouted yet, so we had to make do with our home's frozen greens and the potatoes and carrots we bought from the market. Greens don't keep well, and we didn't have many, enough for a month at most. After that, we'd be out of supplies, but thankfully, we had plenty of other stuff to last until the greens grew. Suddenly, a headache struck, and I fainted right there on the rooftop. After losing consciousness, I seemed to dream that I had become incredibly agile, chopping off zombie heads with ease. My mental strength was astonishing, even capable of telekinesis. Standing by my side was my boyfriend Amos. He muttered something, then looked up and said, Fate is when national disaster strikes, and everyone has a duty. What fate? I woke up startled, finding myself in the large bed in my bedroom, my back soaked with cold sweat. My parents looked at me worriedly. Amos was not there. Penny is talking nonsense. I was so worried. My dear daughter, you've been unconscious for 3 days now. Your body is all normal, but you kept talking nonsense about fate, scaring your mother to death. My mom hugged me tightly. Amos went to keep watch. The situation has worsened over these 3 days. More people have died. More zombies have appeared. The government says they're taking action and that help will come, but it's been 3 days with no news. They just tell residents to stock up. Is there a property security group asking about everyone's situation? I suddenly realized that our house in the community was quite an anomaly, not looking like a house but more like a fortress. It couldn't have gone unnoticed. Yes, Amos told us to just ignore it, not to respond, and Mom stopped checking the group after that. Amos said now that the house is like this, they must know people are here. There's no point in trying to hide it. Indeed, if it were a normal house one could say we haven't been home recently, but since we've transformed it this way, there's no need to lie. My dad seemed unconcerned. Don't be scared, my girl. If the sky falls, your dad will hold it up for you. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. I felt a lump in my throat. The intense stress of the past month had kept me on edge, and I finally broke down and cried in my parents' arms. I woke up sweating and went to the bathroom to take a shower. Before the apocalypse, water was still available, but soon it would be unusable. With a sigh, I turned on the shower and remembered the dream. Almost as if possessed, I focused my mind on the shower gel. Suddenly, the shower gel moved in response to my thoughts. This wasn't a dream, it was real. Did I have a supernatural ability? I was in disbelief. I even doubted if I was hallucinating. After showering and changing my clothes, I went up to the rooftop on the 4th floor where Amos was still on guard. I asked thoughtfully, Amos, have you experienced an awakening of any superpowers? Amos paused, draping a coat over my shoulders. It was actually spring. It wasn't very chilly outside. Moreover, after the awakening, I felt physically enhanced. I could even jump from the 4th floor without any harm. But let's not joke about that. I decided against jumping. Penny, I've awakened to some powers too, but they don't seem very useful, Amos said, stretching his hand towards a dormant seed. A pale blue light emanated from his palm, and astonishingly, the seed sprouted and matured instantly. How can you say that's not useful? This is incredible. We won't have to worry about food and drink anymore, I exclaimed excitedly. Watching Amos's abilities, I wondered if his powers had any healing or revival effects. As I pondered, I casually picked up a small knife from the edge of the rooftop and lightly cut my palm. "What are you doing, Penny?" Amos's annoyed voice rang in my ears as he grabbed my hand to rinse it with clean water. "Amos, I just wanted to test your power, see if you could heal me immediately." Understanding my intention, a pale blue light enveloped my palm, tickling slightly. In less than 2 minutes, my hand was healed. I was right, Amos's ability was healing, and mine was mental control. His power manifested in blue. But what about mine? I concentrated, envisioning the shape of a knife, and slowly, a golden light appeared before me. "So, my power is golden. I thought it would be red. Traditionally, red and blue make a pair. Too bad. Next time, don't joke about your safety. It hurts me," he said softly. How could I have been so foolish to think he didn't love me that much? He was, after all, willing to risk his life for me. "Got it, Amos, you're the best," I said, linking my arm through his. Outside, the world was in chaos, but inside, our home was peaceful. On the fourth day of the apocalypse, having been unconscious for the first 3 days, our family finally gathered together. My mother cooked a feast, and my father looked somewhat pale. He had probably been worried about my condition. "Amos, try and see if you can heal my dad." My parents were startled. Neither Amos nor I had told them about our powers. Amos placed his hand on my dad's head, and a pale blue light entered his body, rapidly improving his complexion. Amidst my parents' astonished looks, I explained about the awakening of our powers and demonstrated my mental abilities. Fortunately, my parents were open to new ideas. My mother prepared a table full of food, including braised beef and cola chicken wings, and even brought out 4 bottles of cola. Although my father liked drinking alcohol, with the apocalypse upon us, we didn't stock any, fearing it might lead to trouble. The family enjoyed a harmonious dinner together. After eating, Amos and I went to keep watch, letting my parents rest. Although there were 4 of us, 2 kept watch during the day and 2 at night, so we didn't spend much time together. That night, the internet was still working on my phone, flooded with news and discussions about the apocalyptic zombie outbreak. One post caught my attention. The author, named "A Week Before the Apocalypse," wrote, "I have come back from the future. We only have a week left. Everyone should start hoarding supplies now. The apocalypse is imminent, and in a week, zombies will overrun us. We didn't make it last time. Now we need to minimize our losses. The weakest part of a zombie is its head. To defeat a zombie, a fatal blow to the head is necessary. Zombies move sluggishly at night, so it's crucial to avoid making loud noises. Even if they are slow, their hearing remains sharp. A savior will emerge, and a zombie antidote will be developed, restoring peace to the human world. For now, everyone should reinforce their windows, secure their doors, and stock up on supplies without venturing outside." The timeline coincides with the week before the apocalypse. It turns out we weren't the only ones reborn. Perhaps the Creator gave us another chance to return and remind humanity of this catastrophe. Unfortunately, back then, few believed us, mocking that we had read too many apocalyptic novels. Now, while the internet is still available, someone's post has reached the front page. I sent them a private message. "Are you referring to psychics as saviors?" After waiting a while without a response, I showed the post to Amos. After pondering for a moment, he said, "All of this is destiny, allowing us to return to the past and awaken our psychic abilities. Perhaps the Creator chose us to save the world. I had a dream where we stood side by side, and you spoke to me about destiny. So, what exactly is destiny? Is it my fate to fight for humanity? I can't do that. In an apocalyptic world, I just want to lie down and be with my parents and loved ones. If my destiny is to save the world, I'm sorry, I can't do it. I'm selfish." Amos seemed to understand my thoughts. "Penny, if you don't want to shoulder this burden, let's find a last bit of peace together in this apocalypse. If you wish, I'll stand by you. Don't worry, I'll be by your side." "Thank you, Amos, you're really kind. I've cried too many times lately. I promise this is the last time." I fell into a light sleep in the middle of the night, perhaps because it was too quiet. Just as the blogger mentioned, zombies don't move much at night, but suddenly, footsteps woke me up. "There's someone." "You heard it too." Amos turned around. Our psychic abilities make our senses extremely sharp. "It's people. Why are they moving around at midnight? Don't they know it's dangerous?" I was puzzled. "I don't know. They're probably not heading our way. Go back to sleep. Let me take over." "Amos, I've had some sleep. You should rest now." You've also had a hard few days." Amos didn't argue, and after giving me a few instructions, he lay down on the rooftop under a blanket. He was visibly exhausted and soon fell asleep. After a while, my phone received a message from the blogger known as A Week Before the Apocalypse. He replied, "Are you also a reborn psychic?" I responded, "Could you tell me what a psychic is? I died on the first day in my previous life, so I'm not clear on what psychics are or their existence." He replied, "Psychics are divided into S, A, B, C, and D levels. D level is a red psychic reaction, C is yellow, B is green, A is blue, and S is gold. In the last world, I survived until the third year of the apocalypse when psychics first appeared. The stronger the ability, the quicker the awakening. I was D level, our group leader was B level. We traveled many places in search of supplies, witnessing the ugliness of human nature. Some people poisoned us just for a biscuit, and others traded their girlfriends for a cup of rice to their leaders. It was then I realized that what's scarier than zombies is the human heart. However, when I died, I had never seen anyone with blue or gold psychic abilities. I'm not sure if such people truly exist, nor am I certain if there's a savior or if a cure has really been developed, but I truly hope humanity will continue to survive. The apocalypse is more terrifying than I imagined. I thought people would fight over food to survive, but I never expected them to abandon their humanity like this. I'm currently in the north of City A, where supplies are plentiful. I've also prepared an RV. If you need to, you can come find me. We, the ones with special abilities, need to stick together. By the way, what level is your special ability? I didn't reply. I don't want to be a savior. I just want to survive well, for my parents, for my loved one, and for myself. The next day, I shared this incident with Amos. He didn't say much, just looked outside with an expression in his eyes that I couldn't understand. A month has passed since the apocalypse began, and our family's life has been very comfortable every day. My parents have even gained a few pounds due to the good food, causing my mom to constantly complain. Lately, my dad has been cooking more often. He claims it's because my mom wants him to experience the hardships of a housewife, but his cooking is better than hers. That's natural. Your dad is a Michelin 3-star chef, my dad said proudly, which made my mom and me roll our eyes. Suddenly, there was a loud banging on the door. We approached the computer and, through the all-around cameras installed by Amos, saw 4 men and 3 women outside, scantily clad. The men were armed with guns and batons, cursing. "What the hell kind of door is this? Can't even bust it open with a gun, boss. There must be people inside. This house looks like it was well prepared. If we could get in, we wouldn't have to worry about supplies or a safe haven." Cut the crap. You can talk about it once you manage to get in. This house is like a damn iron barrel, boss. There are cameras here. They can definitely hear us talking. As they said this, they all turned to look at the camera, their faces menacing, as if they were looking right at us. I was startled and exchanged glances with Amos. "Inside, we know you can hear us. Open the door, and we can protect you. If you don't, prepare to be fed to the zombies." Suddenly, I had a thought. My psychic power can manipulate objects from a distance, so could it control people's actions? Focusing my psychic power on their leader through the computer. Damn it, the man's gun dropped, and he fell to the ground, gasping, his face turning bright red. My parents watched in astonishment from the monitor. "What's happening?" My father didn't speak. He sighed and walked towards the basement. The group outside, perhaps frightened, scurried away. Amos hadn't said much throughout. I knew he was not much for words, but I wondered if he understood me. In this post-apocalyptic world, all I wanted was to protect myself. Soon after, my father returned with 4 guns in his hands, which I immediately recognized as coming from the black box my parents had moved to the basement before. It turns out my father had prepared for the worst in advance, secretly stocking up on these. "My child has grown up. Now it's up to you to protect us. Your mother and I are old now, and in the future, it will depend on you too." Later on, people still occasionally came to bang on the door, but I scared them off in the same manner. I later thought about it. Such methods could leave traces, so I simply used my psychic power to make them walk in one direction continuously. My psychic power could control people within a 100-mile radius. I hoped they wouldn't encounter any zombies while under my control. People who have lost their humanity don't deserve sympathy. Just like that, we spent another 3 leisurely months, with supernatural powers by our side. Life wasn't as terrifying anymore. Zombies occasionally passed by our door but left as soon as they couldn't detect any human scent. Amos would often hasten the ripening of fresh vegetables for a balanced diet of meat and vegetables, making our lives quite enjoyable. But how could life always be so comfortable? At the end of the 5th month, a woman appeared at our door. She had the delicate beauty of a gentle and tender young woman, a stark contrast to my more striking appearance. She was beautiful, stumbling into the surveillance area like a startled deer. It seemed she spotted our house, ran straight towards it, checked for zombies around, and then gently knocked on our door. "Is anybody there? Can you help me? I haven't been bitten, please save me." The girl's soft cries came through the computer, moving my parents with her plight. I glanced at Amos, who seemed to be pondering something as he watched the monitors. "I am a supernatural being. My power is purification. I can purify and create fresh, clean water sources. Please save me, I beg you." Hearing the words, supernatural being, I made a decision I would deeply regret later. I let her in. I quietly opened the reinforced door just enough to pull the girl inside. She was frightened, but I first checked her for any wounds. If she had any, I wouldn't have minded ending her journey here. It might seem cruel, but after months of surviving the apocalypse, you'd probably do the same. Fortunately, she had no wounds, and she demonstrated her ability to purify water sources for us. My parents couldn't stop smiling as they watched her turn murky, polluted water into clear, transparent water. Finally, we could take a proper bath. I prepared a bedroom for her on the 2nd floor. As she looked at our food reserves, a fleeting glint of greed flashed in her eyes, though I didn't notice it at the time. In retrospect, I wish I had sensed her ulterior motives then and dealt with her immediately to avoid future troubles. Now with 5 of us, our night watch schedule changed to 9 hours, from 9 at night to 6 in the morning. Amos, the new girl, and I each took 3-hour shifts, significantly improving our rest quality. Although after awakening our powers, Amos and I could go without sleep all night, and continued our treadmill workouts, our physical condition, including my parents, had greatly improved. We didn't tell the girl that Amos and I were also supernatural beings. After all, being discovered as gold and blue power holders might compel us to take on heroic roles to save the world, which I wasn't keen on. Now it was afternoon, and with a new member added, my father prepared an extra set of utensils. Happy that the kids could rest a few more hours, he cooked a braised carp. Although it was frozen, fresh would have been tastier, and I found myself missing the days without zombies. Uncle, auntie, brother, sister, hello, I'm Nina, 23 years old, the same age as you. I'll be in your care, and if you need a bath, just let me know in my room, said the girl named Nina. For some reason, perhaps a woman's intuition, I wasn't very fond of the subtle look she occasionally gave Amos. However, since she was useful and we had taken her in, I shouldn't think too much about it. After dinner, we watched TV together. Nina was quite the conversationalist, making my parents laugh heartily. I thought maybe I had been biased against her initially. I still had some growing up to do. My boyfriend gets angry even if someone just glances at him. In the blink of an eye, it was 9 o'clock and it was my turn to start the shift, followed by Amos and Nina. Amos joked that I love to get sleepy, so starting my shift early means I can finish early. My parents looked at us with understanding. I playfully punched Amos in the chest. Here I am, a lively 23-year-old, full of energy, and he talks about me getting sleepy. Our big brother and big sister a couple, Nina interjected. Yes, you can just call them Penny and Amos. You're all the same age. No need for big brother and big sister. My dad said, it would be nice if my parents and boyfriend were here too, Nina said, her eyes reddening as she wiped away a tear. Her eyes were slightly red, making her look more fragile yet forcibly strong. She smiled and said, I thought you were siblings at first, but you're actually a couple. You both even look like you're married. Penny is so beautiful, and Amos is so handsome. You're perfect for each other. Haha, Amos has grown up with our Penny. They've been a match made in heaven since they were kids. My dad laughed, patting Amos on the back, casually ignoring her slip of calling him just Amos. I decided to head to my night shift, trying not to dwell on unhelpful thoughts. I had been watching for over 2 hours, and usually, at this time, Amos would have come up to keep me company. Today, unexpectedly, he didn't. Could he have fallen asleep? Just as I was wondering, Amos came up. Amos, why didn't you come to keep me company today? I was a bit upset, but I knew I shouldn't be. In these apocalyptic times, one can't afford petty behavior without considering the circumstances. Nina wanted to purify some water for her parents, and somehow the water heater broke down. I went to fix it. And it took quite a while. Oh, I see. Is it fixed now? I pondered. I remembered choosing the best water heater available. How could it just break down like that? Perhaps it was poorly installed initially. It's fixed. My parents took a bath there and chatted with Nina for a while. I joined in for a bit too. They are in good spirits. They used to be reluctant to use water, but now they can enjoy baths with the purified water. They really like Nina. It seems Nina has made a good impression. Keeping my parents happy, that makes taking her in worthwhile. After giving Amos a few reminders, I went to sleep. No matter how much energy I have, sleep is an essential pleasure in my life. I fell asleep shortly after lying down. Half a month passed peacefully, but I noticed Amos seemed uneasy. When I asked him about it, he was evasive and vague. Nina got along very well with our family. My parents especially liked her. Occasionally, she would come to my room, dreaming about future life prospects. She mentioned that after the apocalypse, she would like to find a boyfriend like Amos, loyal, affectionate, and importantly, very handsome. I jokingly said I'd introduce her to someone after the apocalypse was over, and she would also gossip about how Amos and I fell in love. As days went by, Amos started acting increasingly strange. He often seemed like he wanted to say something but would stop himself. It had been a long time since we had a good chat at night. Today, I decided to accompany him during his night shift. After I had watched for 3 hours, Amos came up. He was holding his neck with a gloomy expression on his face. Amos, what happened? Nina somehow tripped and fell towards me. I dodged, and she ended up grabbing my neck, Amos said with a look of displeasure. After a moment, he continued, Penny, Nina isn't as gentle and pure as she appears. What about her? Come on, finish what you're saying. I'm really anxious to know. Forget it, just remember what I've told you, or maybe turn on the surveillance tonight to watch what I'm up to. You want me to spy on you? My possessiveness isn't that strong. Amos was being strange, not clarifying his words. I went downstairs and bumped into Nina at the corner. Both of us were startled. Penny, were you with Amos today? Nina broke the silence first. No, we just chatted for a bit before I came down. Are you going up? Yes. I'm worried Amos might get bored. He didn't want to disturb your sleep. So I told him I'd go up earlier to keep him company for a while, and he agreed. I always set up the bath water for your aunt and uncle and then I go up to join him. You don't mind, do you? I sensed a hint of insincerity in her tone. I didn't respond, and Nina, noticing my expression, took my hand and said, I just feel bad for Amos having to stay up for the night shift. I offered to swap with him, but he didn't agree since he thinks it's too hard for a girl. Amos is very considerate. I just want to do something for the family, besides purifying the water. I don't know what else I can do. You go to bed early, and by the time I'm done with the bath water, you've already finished your shift, so I haven't kept you company. If you were on the night shift, I'd come keep you company too. Don't think too much of it. You both are very important to me. Okay then, I'm off to bed. I pretended to be tired, rubbed my eyes, yawned, and went back to my room. The more I thought about it, the more uneasy I felt. Nina's words seemed disingenuous. On a whim, I turned on the surveillance system to just take a peek. In the footage, Amos and Nina were standing side by side, enjoying the evening breeze. They were so close that I imagined Amos could probably smell the scent of her shower gel. A wave of anger surged within me. How dare she? He's my boyfriend, not someone for an outsider to keep company. I was fuming. I continued watching. In the video, Nina tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Amos, Penny hardly spends any time with you, do you still think she's worth your love? I know you've been raised by her family, and her parents have told me about it. How can you mix familial love with romantic love? If you want to repay them, it doesn't have to be through a relationship. I admire you. Would you give me a chance? Nina's words made me feel sick. I only love Penny, and you mean nothing to me, Amos replied coldly, watching his frosty gaze on the screen. I suddenly realized that his tenderness was reserved only for me. My heart settled down. Amos, you're just confused by the many years of being together. Penny and I are different types of girls with different styles. You've tried being with her. Why not try being with me? We do it quietly. Penny will never know. I'm like an enigma bloom, appearing only when you need me, never a burden. Nina's voice was pleasant and clear, but it starkly contrasted with her actions, which I found utterly repulsive. No need, thank you, you can leave if there's nothing else, Amos said, deliberately distancing himself from Nina. I don't want to be shoulder to shoulder with a schemer, nor do I wish to breathe the same air. Amos, I can give you time to think it over, see who suits you better between Penny and me. Those who have you don't cherish you, but I can wait for you forever. In this apocalyptic world, my value is greater than Penny's. I have a superpower, a continual source of pure water. We can live well, so, what do you want me to do? Amos asked with a smirk, causing Nina to pause, her cheeks flushing instantly. I have some arsenic here, just add it to Penny's parents' bowls when you cook tomorrow. Once their threat is removed, a mere Penny won't be able to handle us. I'll stay with you, and you can keep her like a pet, as long as you have me in your heart. This is something Penny can't offer you. Nina's true colors showed. No wonder Amos hesitated every day. Given my parents' fondness for her, perhaps Amos thought my parents wouldn't easily be swayed. Moreover, my recent good terms with her and my intuition might lead me directly to confront Nina. Maybe it's better to use today's opportunity to see Nina for who she truly is. Great, I've harbored a wolf in sheep's clothing. I fed her, housed her, treated her as a friend, yet she wants to steal my boyfriend and kill my parents. I'm furious. After copying this video, I had some insomnia, too annoyed to sleep. This woman is terrifying. I should have realized it earlier when she told me she wanted a boyfriend like Amos, when she said she was with Amos every day. I can't believe I'm only reacting now. I'm so mad. I can't sleep. I head to my parents' bedroom. The next day, Amos entered the kitchen with that packet of powder, giving me a knowing look, and I immediately understood. My mother's glances at Nina made me feel guilty. It was too obvious. That displeased expression seemed like she wanted to devour Nina. What if Nina figured out our plan? If she does, we'll just have to initiate Plan B. But my dad was as steady as a mountain. I glanced at my dad, utterly disheveled, as he found a bottle of liquor and began to drink somberly. I guess I better prepare Plan B in advance. Nina sensed something off with the elders and asked, Uncle, Auntie, are you not feeling well today? Uncle and Auntie had bad stomachs from something they ate yesterday. They're not feeling great today. My mom replied, not bad. She managed her expression. When you have a stomach ache, you should eat more. After we eat, I'll purify some water for Uncle and Auntie. It's getting hotter, and a shower would feel much more comfortable, Nina said with an innocent smile on her face, but the four of us saw right through her. It wouldn't be fun to expose her directly. I want her to reap what she sows. Today, Amos was serving the meal. I feigned confusion and asked, Amos, why are you serving the food today? Auntie is not feeling well, so I'll handle this small task, Amos replied coldly for the first time, his forehead seeming to harbor centuries-old unmeltable snow. Even knowing it was an act, it still stung. Amos is so filial. He treats Penny's parents like his own, and a dutiful son naturally wouldn't want his parents to overexert themselves, Nina said with a smug smile on her face. Still smiling, let's see how you handle what's coming next. Let's eat, I said, leading the way. Shoveling mouthfuls of white rice into her mouth, Nina glanced at me, then at Amos and my parents who had already started eating, likely feeling quite smug inside. What a waste of my food, I thought to myself. Doesn't she understand how precious resources are in this post-apocalyptic world? A single bite costs as much as a car, a bowl as much as 10 houses. It's such a waste to feed her, and for so long. Suddenly, a pained expression crossed Nina's beautiful face. She stood up abruptly and confronted Amos. Are you trying to harm me? What else would you expect? To live happily ever after with someone as low as you? Amos replied disdainfully. Do you all know, Nina, although furious, still looked beautiful. It's a pity she's a brainless femme fatale. What did you think, that you could win Amos over with just your face? Please, look in the mirror and see how much more beautiful I am than you. It's satisfying to admit, Nina is indeed pretty, but she doesn't hold a candle to me. Do you think arsenic can harm me? My special ability is D-level water control. As long as there's water in my stomach, I can wrap the arsenic with it and expel it from my body. Even if the arsenic enters my bloodstream, I can freeze it. Did you really think you could hurt me with that? Nina dropped all pretense. Oh, really? You didn't think you were the only one with powers, did you? I used my mental powers to control Nina's consciousness, forcing her to stop using her abilities. The toxin slowly spread. In this post-apocalyptic world, I regretted letting her in, the biggest regret of my life. If it weren't for Amos's loyalty, if it had been another man, who knows what would have happened today. I can protect myself with my abilities, but what about my parents? The more I thought about it, the angrier and more regretful I became. It was time for me to put an end to this. I watched her roll on the ground in agony, with no trace of sympathy on my face. Trouble seems to find me naturally. Gradually, she stopped moving, her lips turning blue. After confirming her death, I glanced at the surveillance, and taking advantage of the security outside, quietly disposed of her body. Soon after, the sound of zombies feasting echoed at the door, and then Nina stood up again. From now on, she was one of the zombies. Next time you decide to take someone in, Penny, keep your eyes open, my dad said grimly, disappointed that a month of interaction had turned out this way. My parents went back to their room early, perhaps struggling to accept my way of handling things. Amos retrieved 4 cameras from the storage room, meaning we no longer had to keep watch on the rooftop. We could just monitor everything from the comfort of our bedroom. As for the zombies, they couldn't get in, so there was no need for special precautions. Life outside continued to be dominated by the undead, but our home remained a safe haven. That night, as Amos and I lay in bed, I asked him, "Do you think I'm cruel?" "In my eyes, you are always the best," Amos replied, holding me close. I'm so glad I chose Amos as my boyfriend. 1 year later, time flew by, and today marked another birthday of mine. My parents seemed unusually anxious and had called Amos into their bedroom, barring me from entering. I wondered what they were plotting. After Amos left, he silently made his way to the kitchen. Mom had taken out the oven they bought before the apocalypse, and Dad was whipping up some light cream. It turned out they were both preparing for my birthday together. It felt wonderful to have them by my side even as the world fell apart. Mom led me mysteriously back to their bedroom. "Penny, today Amos is cooking, your dad's making a cake, and I want to have a heart-to-heart with you." "What's up, Mom? You're being unusually sentimental." I noticed her eyes were red. Could it just be because of my birthday, or had the apocalypse made her overly sensitive? "Mom knows that you and Amos have had a tough journey in our past life. Amos, he did so much for you." "Well, I shouldn't be the one saying all this. You young people should be discussing it yourselves, but in these uncertain times, who knows if your father and I will be around tomorrow? What will you two do then? All alone?" "Mom, don't talk nonsense. We'll survive." My eyes too grew moist. Yes, we had been safe for a year, but danger was still everywhere. The number of zombies hadn't decreased but had actually grown. With no cell service, it was impossible to know how those we couldn't contact were faring. Were our friends and relatives still alive in this world? "I'm only looking out for you." Even a year ago, before the zombie outbreak, I had prepared something for you. Mom pulled out a white box from under the bed, the one she had secretly hidden away. "Sweetheart, open it and see." As I understood what was happening, my hands trembled slightly. Inside the box was an intricately made, elaborate wedding dress. "Your dad and I both like Amos a lot. We've wanted to give you away to him for a long time. He's a good boy, and his character, looks, and everything matches well with you. Penny, we'd be at peace knowing you're with him," she said, wiping away her tears. "Let me help you put it on." When I descended the stairs in my wedding dress, both Dad and Amos stood up from the table. "How could I let anyone else escort you? This is my right as your father," he said, wiping his hands and walking over to me. The old man, looking quite handsome in a suit he had changed into at some point, made me want to compliment him. "Dad, you look so dashing today," but instead, what came out was a tearful, "Dad, a bride shouldn't cry like this," Dad said, his eyes also brimming with tears, his heart full of emotions for the daughter he had cared for all her life. Amos, also dressed in a suit, seemed to have been planning this for a while. Mom played Wedding March through a Bluetooth speaker. The sound was soft, audible only to us in the room. Mom sat at the dining table, sobbing uncontrollably. Amos's eyes were also teary as he knelt on one knee, presenting a ring he had prepared at some point, and asked, "Penny, will you marry me?" "Yes." I extended my hand, and Amos slipped the ring on. They must have planned this for a long time, tricking me into marriage, and even into tears. When Dad linked my arm and then placed my hand in Amos's, he couldn't help but cry as well. Outside was the apocalypse, inside was home. That night, my parents insisted on staying up to guard us, and that night, I became Amos's wife. "Shall we have a child?" "No, it's the apocalypse, sweetheart." Even in the apocalypse, The next day, in an unprecedented move, my mother picked the fattest of our 40 chickens, which had grown from 20 over the year. Although originally there could have been more, many were used for making egg cakes, scrambled eggs with chives, and tomato egg soup. Just made fresh chicken soup. Drink it while it's hot. You young ones need to nourish your bodies, my mother said with a smile as she served Amos and me a full bowl of chicken soup, recalling last night's major discussion about having kids. Amos and I simultaneously blushed. Another peaceful year passed by quietly. Amos and I didn't have children. I don't know why, but I always felt it wasn't the right time, and Amos respected my feelings, taking precautions very carefully every time. Our home stockpile of food could last us decades, but how long could we continue living like this? When would we be able to look at the sun outside without a metal door in between? I could see the worry in my parents' eyes. They too wished to go outside for a walk, to see the ocean. Father used to be too busy to accompany mother, and now, though he had the time, we could go nowhere. If only there were no apocalypse, how good that would be. We thought our lives would continue to be peaceful until one day, a middle-aged man dressed as an officer knocked on our door. Through the surveillance, we saw a large horde of zombies approaching not far from us. I am Alton, on a national mission. Is anyone there, please? Respond. The man looked extremely weak, clutching a black box and continuously bleeding from his right hand. The origin of the injury unknown. Penny, let him in quickly, my father shouted, already rushing towards the courtyard, startling our chickens into a frenzy. Dad, he's injured, I called out loudly, but I couldn't sway my father's determined mind. He's my old war buddy, we've been through life and death together. He must have something important to say. By the time he finished speaking, my dad had already opened the iron gate and dragged Alton inside. Alton, old friend, what happened? Alton forcefully pushed my father away, and we kept a safe distance from him. Stay back, Alan, I've been bitten, I will turn into a zombie soon. Here's my gun. After I finish speaking, you must shoot me. Alan, brother, this is a research drug that our military needs to secretly transport to Beijing. Just release this drug into the sky to create artificial rain, and all the zombies will lose their ability to move and die completely. We have come all the way from Shanghai to here, nearly reaching our destination, but my troops have been wiped out, along with 5 psychics who died with us. They had warned us about the apocalypse early on, but we didn't take it seriously. I don't have much time left. This box is humanity's last hope. I don't ask you to risk your lives to deliver it to the city center, but just keep the last spark of hope for humanity. If the military passes by, hand this box over to them to complete our unfinished mission. Now, shoot. After finishing his words, Alton closed his eyes, with livor mortis spreading over his arms. My father hesitated to pull the trigger. This was his closest war buddy, whom he often boasted about. How could he personally end his life? I knew you wouldn't dare, so I brought 2 guns. Alton smiled, a solemn and resolute smile of a soldier ready to face death. He aimed the pistol at his head. In times of national crisis, everyone has a responsibility. The hope of the nation and the world is now in your hands. If the military passes by, tell them there is still hope for the nation. Bang, Alton, the bullet went through his head, and my father's closest comrade died before him. We cremated Alton's body and stored it in a box. Father personally removed the medals from his body, half joking about his age yet still wearing his pride, and solemnly placed the medals in a small box along with his ashes on our rooftop. Father poured himself a glass of wine and another for the empty bowl beside him, saying, Alton, you also deserve a rest. In our leisure time, we'll both look at this sky here, and one day, China and the whole world will regain their prosperity. Father fell ill that very day. Even though Amos tried to heal him with his psychic abilities, he remains downhearted. We all understand that he has unresolved issues weighing on his mind. Alton's words, in times of national crisis, everyone has a responsibility, deeply resonated with our family. I began to question myself. In the face of national disaster, should I really be living in isolation, cut off from the world? Was I wrong in my initial thinking? The 5 superpowered individuals who perished together were all time travelers, among them likely the blogger known as Apocalypse. 1 week later, they tried to prevent the apocalypse, but they failed again. When we all perish, will we face a new cycle of existence? Will the Creator still care for us, or will the earth be plunged into utter darkness? The conflict and struggle have left me sleepless. After finally managing to fall asleep, I had that dream again. I was wielding a black blade, moving through zombies, with Amos by my side declaring, "Destiny dictates that in times of national crisis, everyone has a responsibility." Upon awakening, I finally understood that I should not only care for myself. The Creator did not give us powers to merely hide in a corner and silently watch others bravely face death. We are meant to save our nation from peril. I made a decision. I will leave this place with Amos, taking the black box to the research base. After hearing my decision, my mother silently wept. She neither objected nor agreed. My father drank somberly alone. After the apocalypse, he seldom drank, only doing so on a few occasions. When Nina betrayed us, on my wedding day, the day Alton died, and today, when I decided to leave, after 3 rounds of drinks, my father's eyes were red as he said, "Penny, your father has let you down. If I could, I wish your mother and I could bear these supernatural powers instead of you." Dad, Amos and I knelt down, knowing well that this might be our final farewell. The path we chose is a point of no return. Once we leave, endless zombies await us. If we do not succeed, we die honorably. Good children, my father helped us to our feet, together as husband and wife, sharing hardships. The nation and our people are now in your hands, no matter what happens. You will always make your parents proud. Penny, Amos, please don't go. My mother clung tightly to me. I can't bear to let you go. If you leave, how can we go on? Nydia, let Penny go. My father stood up, calmly patting my mother's shoulder. Let our children choose their own paths. We'll just wait for them to come home safely. My mother let go of me, touched my face, wiped away my tears, patted Amos on the shoulder, and then went upstairs without turning back. When are you leaving? Perhaps because he had drunk some liquor, my father's voice was hoarse. Tonight. I paused. Night is the safest time for us to travel. Zombies are blind and it's only a 3-hour drive to the research institute. If all goes well, we'll be back tomorrow. If things don't go well, we won't return. I didn't voice this thought, but I was prepared for that possibility. Good children, my father supported me and Amos to sit down. You are both good children. In times of national crisis, everyone has a responsibility. Your mother and I thought about living here forever, but outside these walls, humanity is lost. There are many good people who have dedicated themselves to the nation. As you've grown and matured, your father is proud of you. Promise me, you will all come back alive. Dad, I promise you, we will survive. Tonight, I'll prepare the richest feast for you. And tomorrow your mother and I will be here waiting for your return. In the evening, the dining table was silent. Mom held back her tears, and Dad drank again, still clear-headed even after finishing a bottle. Usually, after a bottle, he would cling to Mom for half the night, but it seems their love has grown even sweeter. As night deepened, we went down to the underground garage. Besides the motorhome and sports car, there was also an SUV that Amos had driven back the day before the apocalypse. I hadn't been to the garage since then, and I didn't know that the SUV was already stocked with handguns, military knives, 4 boxes of water, and a trunk full of instant food. Mom hugged me and Amos one last time, just like any mother waiting for her children to return from school, reminding us to come home early. Amos had prepared enough vegetables for a week. I told my parents not to open the door for anyone, and if the zombies breached the walls, they should abandon the garden and chickens and stay hidden inside the house. Then I took the passenger seat, holding the black box, the last hope for humanity. Dad personally opened the garage gate for us, and we drove out, the gate closing immediately behind us. Time was of the essence. I looked back at our home, sturdy as a fortress, and thought I saw 2 figures on the rooftop, my parents watching, hoping for our return. This was my first time leaving home in 2 years. Holding the black box made me feel like I was about to transform from a lifelong corporate drone into a superhero. After driving for over an hour and encountering small groups of zombies, which we easily outpaced though they continued to follow, forming a dense horde behind us. They weren't fast, but we couldn't shake them off. Let them follow. It will ensure absolute safety for Mom and Dad. In 2 more hours, we can complete our mission and head home. I muttered. Penny, we will survive, Amos said, squeezing my hand that had grown sweaty. Don't be afraid. We will live and reunite. Another hour passed, and with less than an hour left, the zombies had formed a thick mass behind us. Careful, I exclaimed as a large group of zombies appeared ahead, trapping us from both sides. Penny, hold on to the black box. we're going through. Amos accelerated, zombies ahead and behind, no way out as the car gradually became immobile, surrounded by zombies. Climbed through the window. Amos opened the sunroof and climbed out, and I followed with the box. No turning back now. I used my ability to conjure a black blade with my mind, agilely leaping from the car, standing side by side with Amos wielding the Gurkha knives Dad had given us. Initially awkward in combat, I quickly grew more proficient. It was hard to imagine that we were carving a path through the zombies with just our own strength, surrounded by the stench of decay. Amos and I, faces and bodies splattered with zombie blood, were driven to a frenzied state. In this chaotic world, to protect ourselves, we had taken up arms, facing these terrifying zombies. I felt an unprecedented resolve. With zombies that never die, the world would never have peace. My parents, and countless others, would never live in tranquility. Humanity would forever dwell in the shadows, devoid of sunlight. We couldn't accept such a life. Time seemed to lose meaning as my actions mechanically repeated themselves, yet fatigue never touched us. Instead, we grew stronger with each battle. Enhanced abilities and daily training had greatly improved our physical and reactive capacities. Like in a dream, Amos and I fought bravely amidst a horde of zombies, eventually breaking through the encirclement together. We made it out. We didn't know how long we had run, finally taking refuge in an abandoned building. The silence around us was terrifying. A faint glow began to emerge from the horizon. Dawn was approaching, and with it, increased zombie activity. Our movements were fraught with difficulty. I leaned against the wall, suddenly feeling exhausted and weak. Amos, Penny, don't be afraid. Amos comforted me gently, his arms around me. With our powers, we are much stronger than others. With great power comes great responsibility. Since we've chosen this path, we can't back down. You have me, for us, for our parents, and for the martyred souls who have sacrificed. We must survive. I wiped away tears and stood up, ready to depart. Amos brushed the dust off me and pulled out a piece of chocolate from his pocket. Let's split this and then move on. Our supplies are in the car, but all we have now is this chocolate. Amos and I shared the chocolate, and for the first time, I truly understood how difficult it was to move forward without food in this apocalyptic world. No wonder so many people lose their humanity. We set off again, but this time we had to proceed on foot. The noise from the vehicle was too loud and would attract endless hordes of zombies. Even with our powers, we were not invincible. Caution was paramount in this apocalyptic world. Amos and I cautiously navigated through the center of Beijing, the blood of zombies on our bodies providing good camouflage. As the sun climbed higher, reaching noon, we encountered several small groups of zombies. I was still quick to strike them down with my knife. From unfamiliar to skilled, it only took us half a day. As we neared our destination, the number of zombies increased. With no food, some zombies even began to turn on each other. Those that survived were tougher to deal with. They were evolving, following the natural law of survival of the fittest. Just 2 kilometers from our destination, we sprinted every 100 meters, dodging zombies as we went, which drained us both physically and mentally. The sun was particularly harsh today. At its hottest, we supported each other, our high tension and exhaustion having long since taken a toll on our bodies. We couldn't fall. We absolutely couldn't. Finally, we reached our destination, a desolate scene with only a dilapidated phone booth in sight. Following the last instructions given by Alton before he died, we successfully contacted the Research Institute. However, the institute was not as high-tech as we imagined. A young man in stained white clothes emerged from a nearby sewer cover. A living person. We handed him the medicine, which he accepted solemnly with both hands, inviting us to follow him below. At that moment, the ground trembled slightly, signaling an unprecedented horde of zombies like none ever seen before. Amos and I exchanged a glance, hurriedly covered the manhole, and sprinted forward. I shouted, "Don't worry about us. These zombies are evolving. They might already possess intelligence and know they're under threat. Hurry, get the serum to the Research Institute. It's the world's last hope." I wasn't sure if the young researcher had heard me. Wielding a knife formed from my psychic energy, I fought amidst the zombies. Leading them away was now pointless. The intelligent zombies were the real threat, ignoring us and rushing towards the manhole. Amos yanked a zombie away with one hand and sealed the manhole with the other. We stood back to back on top of the manhole cover. Fate is fighting unreservedly for our loved ones, for our country, and for the countless good people who survived. Fate is for us and everyone else who survives to bask in the sunlight once more. Fate is sacrificing ourselves for our nation and our people. In our hands, we hold fate. We are the embodiment of fate. The scene was exactly like in my dreams. Except now, I was the one delivering these lines instead of Amos. We fought amidst the horde of zombies, knowing well that just the two of us couldn't hold them off indefinitely. Using my psychic powers, I maneuvered a large truck to block the manhole and swiftly climbed atop it, with the only access to the research institute now sealed. All we could do was buy time. Penny, Amos gently took my hand. Trust us, trust the institute, trust in hope. Before me were a million zombies. Beneath my feet, the hope of the world. By my side, the person I loved most. For the sake of countless fellow citizens, what was there to fear even in death? Amos's Nepalese cookery had dulled, so I quickly focused and formed a black blade, handing it to him. Zombies continuously climbed up, and we kept decapitating them. Time blurred as our movements became mechanical and our psychic energy began to wane. Our blades felt increasingly heavy. Hold on, Penny. Amos was distracted for a moment, and a zombie had leapt onto the truck. I pushed him away but was bitten myself, blood splattering from my arm as the zombie tore off a piece of my flesh. Amos quickly beheaded the zombie and, with tears in his eyes, grabbed my wrist and asked, "Why did you block it?" It's okay," I struggled free, maintaining a calm demeanor. "I'm about to turn into a zombie, even with special abilities. I can't stop it." Amos, "Kill me, even injured." I didn't stop fighting. If I could kill even one zombie, it was one less for Amos to face alone. People have to die someday. Dying with you by my side, I'm content. Amos, tell my parents that in my next life, I still want to be their daughter. Knowing Amos couldn't do it, I stepped back, placing the blade against my neck to end my own life. "Say that to Mom and Dad yourself." Amos snatched the blade from my hand, and a soft blue light entered my wound. To my astonishment, the wound began to heal. Was Amos's ability actually healing? Could it even cure the zombie virus? If only he had been able to heal Alton. Seeing my thoughts, Amos said, "I couldn't save Uncle Jiang. He had been poisoned too long, and the toxins were too deeply ingrained. My ability can only heal those recently infected. Now's not the time for this. With your ability and mine combined, what do we have to fear? Let's annihilate these zombies that threaten our home." With renewed vigor, knowing I couldn't be infected, I was determined to kill all the zombies. Reinforced steel plate emerged from the ground with a rumble, and a small rocket slowly rose from beneath it. It's the serum that suppresses the zombie virus. A large group of zombies abandoned us and ran towards the rocket, leaving only a few still entangled with us. "We have to be faster." I manipulated nearby abandoned cars, stacking them in layers in front of the rocket to form a makeshift protective barrier. Amos sprinted ahead, valiantly holding off the zombies. "Just a little longer. Help is almost here." With a roar, rockets were launched into the sky, soon forming clouds and initiating a light rain, which quickly turned into a downpour. The rain washed away the grime on us and also hindered the zombies' movements. They stopped moving altogether. In the second year of the zombie outbreak, a research institute in Beijing launched a suppressant into the sky that successfully immobilized the zombies in the area. Within 3 days, all the zombies affected by the rain had decomposed into water. This sowed the seeds of hope across the globe. By the third year of the outbreak, all regions in China had successfully utilized the new suppressant. 3 months later, China was clear of all zombies. By the 5th year of the outbreak, zombies worldwide were eradicated, marking a new beginning for the entire world. Survivors emerged by the millions, reclaiming the streets, sewers, abandoned buildings, and forests. Eventually, our family opened a supermarket at the end of the apocalypse. We had more food than we could eat, so we thought it best to exchange it for some money, with the government's blessing, of course, since Amos and I played a significant role in our survival. Watching our parents energetically promoting our goods, Amos wrapped his arms around me, and we shared a smile. "A box of noodles for a bar of gold. Savior, aren't you asking too much? Quit your complaining. If you're not buying, step aside. Others are waiting." I joked. Noodles were my favorite after all, and I decided their worth. Later, Alton's ashes were interred in the Martyrs' Cemetery. Every Qingming festival, our family would go to pay our respects. Without him, perhaps we wouldn't have had our awakening. Ultimately, it was he who saved the nation, a soldier who devoted his life to the country well into his 50s. Behind Alton's grave were 5 specially marked graves of individuals with special abilities. One tombstone read humorously yet solemnly, I was a doomsday blogger a week before the end. Indeed, he too had participated in that escort mission. Later, the military handed us a storage card found in one of the ability holders' backpacks. We watched the video at home, which featured a handsome young boy, seemingly a couple of years younger than us, with a smile in his eyes amid the constant backdrop of roaming zombies. The boy slowly said, "If someone is watching this video, it means I'm already dead and the apocalypse is over. I won't be able to see China and the world liberated with my own eyes, but I'm sure I'd be happy watching from above, knowing humanity overcame fear and adversity in times of national crisis. Everyone has a duty. We're currently escorting an antidote to Beijing, and if all goes well, we'll arrive tomorrow. Tomorrow, peace will return to China. We hold the seeds of hope in our hands, and as ability holders, it's our mission to restore prosperity to our nation, and we are committed to this cause. Tomorrow, we'll have a hot meal. The captain promised to treat us, and this video is proof to hold him to it. We're en route to Beijing now, with a large horde of zombies trailing us. They seem to have evolved, sensing something on our vehicle that threatens their existence. There are too many zombies. I don't think we'll be able to see the day the world returns to peace. We never got to see the A and S tier ability holders. Maybe they're just a theory, a myth, as they never appeared in our past lives either." A week before the apocalypse, I posted a message, and an ability holder replied, "But we never met before. To the brother I've never met, I don't know where you are, or if you're still alive, or if you'd be willing to take this risk. This might be my last video. We are about to carry out our last mission, covering for Commander Alton to escape from here. There is still hope for China's future, so please do not give up. I am D-level Psychic Allison." That's where the video ended. Although there was no background music, my family and I were still moved to tears. If we had joined them earlier, would they have not? "It's not your fault, Penny." Amos put his arms around my shoulders, my head resting under his chin. 2 years after the apocalypse, I became pregnant. Seeing Amos's anxious face made me laugh and say, "Amos, is it you who's pregnant or me? Why are you more anxious than I am?" "Penny, don't laugh. We don't want our grandchild to end up with your IQ by accident," my dad said, blowing his beard and glaring. "Dad, am I really your biological child?" "Your dad is right." "Penny, lie down carefully. Don't press on the baby." Amos gently coaxed me to lie down, and Mom immediately brought over some freshly prepared chicken soup. Amos fed me spoonful by spoonful, creating a very warm scene. "Eat more. Don't let my grandchild go hungry," my mom said with a gentle smile watching me. "It's wonderful. My country is safe and peaceful. My parents are with me, and my child is born in a time of peace. When he grows up, I'll tell him the story of his father and me."